All right. Captains, good evening. I'm just checking to see if we're on. Then we're going to say hello to our fellow captains. I see Kiwi. Hello, how are you? We have Chris. And what is that? Asa? Asam? Asam. I am so bad at that. Dwayne, hello. Infamous. Greetings. So this is not the screen that we're using here, but we're just sort of making sure we're on. We were almost, I was pretty much late here almost. But good evening, Caps. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Just hope you and the Admiral are well. Sam, yes, I am. How are you? Thank you for checking. So tonight, even though I have the Stowe stream on here, okay, we are going to... Oh, geez. Gribog! With the... with the raid! Well, hello. Thank you so much for the raid. This is a lot. This is pretty healthy. Yeah. Steady Alpha, how are you doing? Mementh? Goofball, how are you? Captains, we just started the stream here, and tonight is going to be more of a discussion with our fellow captains, Gauss, McStud, and Spencer. Just like how we did about almost like a month ago. So we're going to try to make these regular, but we are actually going to not have Stowe up, but more or less have... Well, we'll have Stowe up still. I may be able to do a capture window of some sort of that or something. But we're going to be on Discord, so hopefully this works. Of course, it's the boomer that will have a problem trying to put this all on. Oh, geez. Screwed it up. Don't know how. Okay. Try this again. Try this again. That's not what I wanted to hit.
Live long and
We're not going yet, I promise. We're not going yet. I'm doing my binge watching. Nice! And snores. Hakai, yes. Those are not going to be working, unfortunately. But we are going to get ready to go see our good friends. Now, I'm going to go to the screen. Hopefully this works. And then we'll start it from there. Hopefully this works. Try it.
Scotty, beam me up.
I hope this is working, but all right, captains, we are back on the bridge with our good friend, Gauss. We have Gauss with us here. And
hello.
There you go. We have the McStud.
Hello.
And of course, Spencer.
How's it going, buddy?
Doing their thing. Sorry, I actually screwed that up. Now, captains, can you hear us? Can you see us? That's... Allergy's been rough today? Oh, that's not good. Minoc, how you doing? I can hear and see you. Oh, wow. We can be seen. So this... Where'd Spencer go?
I may have crashed my Discord.
Well, what's... It's the McStud mapping, right? It's the McStud mapping. Yep, we all see you. Can you hear us all? Hopefully you can. So we're gonna thank McStud for this overlay here. This was his idea. And what probably would take someone 5 minutes to figure out took me a good 15 minutes. Because, well, we all know Triz is a boomer.
We're all pooling our collective talents here. This is
I just spent a lot of effort, a lot of time getting this perfect background.
And then it crashed. Moved and
Well,
so that's a great face that you're making. I love the face. So I think from now on, this is how we're gonna do this when we do this sort of podcast style. Time dilation, yes. So captains, we do have some topics we wanted to sort of discuss like we did last time. And we're just gonna let the conversation go, but we do have something to go off by. But before we do so, I am going to let my fellow captains kind of do a little plug-in and maybe describe what they're working on, what they released lately, and we'll start with Mr. Gauss.
Hello everyone, how's it going? If you don't watch my channel already, I make Star Trek Online videos, and the next video that I'm working on is going to come out is a review of the Nidarian Defender. I'm doing a build where it's going to have no weapons, and it's going to be a pet build, even though it has no hangar base. So we're going to see how that works out. I'm going to try and find every other source of pets and consumable pets that I can to put on the ship, so hopefully that's fun. I'm also working on a documentary for a different Star Trek game, so hopefully that's going to be really good as well.
Mixed mapping.
Hey guys, good to see everybody. I'm not sure what I'm working on this week, if I'm being 100% honest. I got a couple ideas on my notepad here. Actually, I'm lying. It's still empty. I'm working on actually some demo record stuff. Probably won't be ready for another couple weeks. But I have a couple ideas for some free-to-play builds. Probably ground, actually. I wanted to do something that was kit module only, similar to the Nidarian build that Gauss is talking about, but for ground, not pets, but kit module only. Something budget friendly as usual. That's pretty much it. Most of the time when I make a video, it just kind of pops into my mind 20 minutes before I do it. So
I do have a question though. Are you a bran muffin? I just wasn't sure if it was. Okay, gotcha. All right.
The good kind, though.
A muffin, nonetheless.
For me, I'm just dealing with COVID, so some of the video projects are on hold probably for the next couple days, but wanting to cover another game that I've been playing, O Game, and then I've got a few just like how-to style videos that will hopefully do quite well. McStew and Triz both were encouraging me to work on those types of videos, and I'm probably gonna do something just to make sure that Triz gets the help that he needs.
You had to put that in there, didn't you?
I'm...
Is that your address on the front of that?
No, it's not. It's
He's
just
like,
a liar. I hope not.
Accidentally doxing himself, yeah.
I have dealt with like a stalkerish type person in this game before.
Just had
Did
to.
I ever tell you guys about that?
You told me about it. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We'll give you an opportunity to tell it again, because it is one of the best stories I've ever heard. And the even funnier part is how he accepted it with no remorse at all or fear or anything. He just went up with it. But
You're damn right.
Well, someone made a holodeck program with a likeness of him and then fell in love with it when they were trying to fix a problem with the ship. So
Yeah, when I lived over in Davenport, Quad Cities area, there was someone that was in the PvP scene, found out that I also lived in the Quad Cities, and they heard that I'd wanted a specific computer case, and they bought it for me on the caveat that I had to go pick it up from their place. Now, at the time, I was under 18, number one. Number two, it was across state lines over in Illinois. So it was a little bit creepy, but it was a nice case. It was a nice case at the time, and it's like a $200 case. Now I know it's trash, but at the time I was like, I want this. So I went over, and it was extremely awkward. I think the guy's wife was just wondering, what the hell is this fat kid doing here?
You get there and it's like Herbert from Family Guy. Oh, we got a strong boy here. Come pick up your case.
It was a very awkward situation, but I mean, I'll repeat it. I could go for a V3000 Plus from Lee and Lee. Hit me up if anyone interested around Des Moines. I want that case.
Weird. How come it's not showing YouTube chat here? Sorry, I missed some chat here from YouTube. Restream's not. Looks like it's not actually capturing. It was before, but now it's not. So I'll have to.
Triz help is right here.
No, it's on there. Sorry, you, Zilla. Thank you for stopping by. Kale, hello. Caliph. Hello. Jose, hello. How are you? It's weird. I can see.
You said Kale. I was like, is Ambassador Kale in the chat?
Yeah. Waldo, how's it going? Yeah, it's doing something weird. It's not actually capturing. So let me just do it quickly. We both chat. So thank you for that story. I love that story. By the way, personally, what I'm working on is I just released the sort of ranking video. I've been having fun with ranking stuff, so we might continue that on with some Strange New Worlds, possibly Star Trek Online stuff, but I wanted to do some sort of on-screen canon type builds from Strange New Worlds because of the ships that we saw, especially we have them in game, which is the Taliss and of course, the Disco Prize. Short, hello, how's it going? Chris. Sorry guys, don't need to apologize. So that's kind of what we're working on, but we'll just work on that when we can. Of course, in real life duties always come first, and thank you for the messages last night, Caps. Appreciate that. So what we have tonight is a discussion on some things that have been sort of bothering me, but not just me, but just things that we've noticed, especially that I think all four of us here cover the Stowe News. So we're going to start off with one of the subjects there, and just communication. So what I've noticed, I'll start this off, then go to Gauss, McStudded, then Spencer. What I've noticed is when they release things on their official Twitter account, it's when they have links there, it's going to the old site and their new site. Now, a couple of weeks before, even like a month before, when you would click on their new site that they'd give us, it would be like error. So we'd have to go to the ARC site. So I don't know why they're giving us two different sort of site links, like just all transported already over to the one site. Now, I know there's some, I guess, what do you call it? Transferring over, but it's making it sort of weird, and it just doesn't feel, dare I say, professional. And when it comes across that way, and then you just have actually players or other fellow captains, hey, no, this is where you have to go to see this here and there, and I've had to do that, especially like I said, we a lot of us cover the news here, and also with giveaways. Why aren't they not putting that on their official Twitter feed? That's kind of not really helpful. They're already doing the giveaways. They've obviously know it's out there. So why not, send that out in their official Twitter account, and I feel that there are a lot of people, we can't say that everyone is, subscribed to us, but we want to try to, the reason why we do that is to get the information out there. So it would be nice if they can streamline the communication. You have a Twitter feed already, right? A lot of us follow that. We also look to that for the news. So one, for me, it'd be nice if you can just go ahead and transfer everything to the news site because it looks like it's working. I know it wasn't before. And two, if you're going to do, free giveaways, just put it on the official Twitter feed. I mean, that's kind of the thoughts that I've sort of been bugging me, because I know McStud told me the recent shacks, someone from your Discord just told you about that, right? And it's sort of like, well, okay, well, if you didn't know about it, and then you have to like jump through like hoops of getting accounts from what was that last one? Was it Epic? Epic Games. You know,
No, it was
Steel Series. That's right. You know, and it's kind of strange that we have to jump through hoops to get that. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's a code that you put in the Arc. So why not sort of just, again, like I said earlier, streamline that? So, but that's just kind of my little thing here. And I've said before, I know Stowe's not perfect, and I try to be as positive as I can be, but that kind of irked me the last couple of months, where we would be like, id would tell me, oh, we have this giveaway, or, you know, it would be on a Reddit site, or someone else would tell me, and it was kind of super annoying, and then we wouldn't find out until it was out there. So I don't know, your thoughts, Gauss?
Well, I'll start with the website. So I don't really, and anyone who knows me knows I'm one of the first people in line to criticize them, but I don't really blame them for that. It's not like it's a cryptic site specifically, and even if it was, it's not specifically a Stowe site. It's the Arc, Arc games, and then I know this new one is probably, because of the Embracer buyout. So I don't know that they really have full control over that. So I don't really put that one on them. I can accept that may not be their fault, getting the new site and the old site to play well and everything. In terms of the giveaways, I mean, yeah, obviously I think they should be posting that stuff on the Twitter, but just to make a larger point about it, is it's very inconsistent. They'll post things on Twitter that never end up in a blog post, or they'll post, or the other way around. So there's not like consistent messaging between all of their different news feeds. So I feel like I have to check all of them, or I'm going to miss something. Because like what you were saying, how people didn't know about that giveaway, and maybe they have agreements that they don't advertise it themselves so that the other people can do it. I don't know. I don't know how the back deal stuff goes on there, but it does seem like they have some real issues with their communication strategy, and just the blog posts in general. It used to feel like they came out pretty regularly, same time of day. Now they're like, they'll do the 10 forward. It could be early, late. They keep accidentally leaking stuff. So it seems like they got a lot of issues going on right now, and hopefully they'll be able to get that cleaned up. But I don't want to point blame, because I don't know where it belongs, but they're definitely struggling.
Before Stu, Truce changed the thing on Twitch.
Oh, what did I do?
You've got it marked as we're in the fitness category. And
Obviously.
I sure as hell
I
ain't
mean-
doing any running or exercises right now, buddy.
The YouTube AI took one look at us and just automatically changed it.
Moved us.
That was on Twitch,
It's
right?
on me. It was like, oh, hell.
Is it on Twitch? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I forgot Restream. I have to go actually change the individual. I think even
There's one
Oh
very
my
confused
gosh.
person out there.
going, what? When's the run? Sorry, thanks, Ben. While I change that, Mixed, how about you?
Yeah, so in terms of the website, I'm actually I'm pretty happy with what they're doing there. When I ran across it, and again, there was no announcement, it's just something that just started kind of appearing, which I think goes to that communication issue, which I do agree that there is a big one. But in terms of the website, I think that they've done a really good job on it. I like the way it looks. I like the way it interacts. It's nice and clean. And you can tell they are merging the two sites, or transferring, because if you log into your account on the actual website, the back end of it on your profile settings and those kinds of things, it looks the same. It's just a different color scheme. And then if you click on certain things like support or whatever, then it does drop you over onto the Arc site. So there is a little bit of back and forth, but I really played with it quite a bit, and I did not find any kind of weird loops or any kind of weird things in terms of it not working or getting me to where I needed to be. Now you are jumping from site to site, and I guess if you weren't expecting that could be a little discombobulating. But in terms of I've transferred a few websites that I've done for work and things like that, and from what I can see so far, at least as of a week and a half ago, which is when I found it essentially, I don't see any real problem there with that transfer or anything like that. And I'm happy with the way that the site looks. I think it's a nice update, and I think it looks good. And it's dedicated, at least that part of it, the play StarTrekOnline.com is dedicated to the game itself.
Right.
In terms of the giveaways and stuff, I mean, I think we all agree that there's definitely communications problems. I think there's a community management issue, and I don't know that I put that on Kale. I mean, he is the guy in charge, so I guess, you know, it's one of those things where the buck stops there. But it's pretty clear looking at the site, looking at some other issues I'm having and working on with some of the devs on the back end, that there's some transition things happening and have happened that are also causing issues. And so I'm not at a point where I don't think, you know, I would point the fingers either, because I don't know what's happening, you know, on the back end. And I know that things are changing and things are happening, and it's not necessarily stuff that's going to like change the game or any of that, but just in terms of management, how codes work, you know, just back end procedure and those kinds of things. But, you know, for a long time, you know, the communication part, I think it's gotten worse, but for a long time, it's never been great, right? And just like Gauss said, you know, it's inconsistent where you're going to find information. You got to check all these different sites. You got to hunt around. In some cases, you just got to rely on people going and scouting out, you know, the sites that do the giveaway codes. I don't understand why they wouldn't just announce, you know, that SteelSeries is doing a giveaway, because the whole thing was designed to get you to download that app that SteelSeries had. And so Star Trek Online, along with a couple other games, Black Desert, what was the other one, Warframe, they all provided codes. And to me, you know, it would seem that SteelSeries would want them to promote that, to send people over to the site in order to download those apps and redeem their codes. So I just can't understand why those things wouldn't be announced. And they never really have been, other than like the charity drive ones, right? Which, that's very straightforward. You know, they're obviously trying to help promote that, but I don't understand why they don't do that, you know, with the other ones. It's kind of a bummer, and it's a nightmare to manage. I guess it's nice for us, you know, because we can be the first ones to put that out and make content. But, you know, I play quite a few other games, and I go to their official blog post, I look through it, I know everything that's going on, I don't have to worry about it. With Stowe, you're constantly, you know, hunting around. And just like that sale this weekend, or last weekend that just ended, that was a great sale on bundle ships, and it never was officially announced. And if it wasn't for, you know, Spencer and these guys, you know, that found it on the German site, which I'm never going to go look there, I wouldn't have known about it, and neither would anybody else. It never it ended without it being announced, which is to me just crazy, you know. And I don't know what the problem is, but there definitely is one when it you know, when it comes to that communication side.
And I just jump back in to add one thing real quick, is that how many times has there been something free in the promotions tab that's never announced? And if it wasn't for some random person checking and posting it on Reddit or something, so word of mouth got out, you'd never know, you know?
Yeah,
And
no.
that sale this weekend, I went back and looked. They only started running them last year, and they've been running them basically every 2 to 3 months now. You know, it's not the biggest deal ever, you know, but people that didn't know about this sale now have to wait another 2 to 3 months before, you know, that they can get the items at those prices again, which to me is just, I don't get. You know, the giveaways are one thing, you know, of them not promoting, but their own sales, which will get them a significant bump in money for that weekend, that's just ridiculous to me. Now, with the website, Stu, I saw you'd posted about the San Francisco Gearbox like page.
Yeah.
So I think this new website is all being pushed by Gearbox. That's my guess, is the transition. And you know, it's going to be really funny and sad when we look back like a year or two from now, and it ends up being that the only change that Gearbox put for Stowe was changing the website.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that seems like the most likely outcome.
But I don't know. I wish that the communication lines with the devs were better. I tried to not be too direct about things, but I wish that there was a bit more effort put forth by the people whose job it is to do these things. Now I've reached out personally too about getting codes for like the builds Discord, especially after we pushed the V'ger app out, and it's been silenced now for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, no, I've Cal keeps saying he'll get back to me, and I understand the whole. I get it, busy, right? You know as well, Spencer, their sort of size of the dev team is. Would you say it's the smallest that it's ever been? Feels that way, that's for sure.
On the contrary, from what I understand right now, the team size is not that far off from the team size they had when they did Victory's Life. They just have different priorities internally now.
Okay,
You have to remember, Stowe is one of the big money makers for Cryptic, and while they, were bought out by Gearbox and all that, I imagine they're still internally thinking with that mindset of Cryptic itself just had a major failure, a year or so back, and they got to do whatever they can to help financially, get the numbers back to where they want them for the company overall. Which I guess doesn't matter as much probably now for Gearbox, but Gearbox probably wants to see those financial numbers also, keep going up and up on their investment.
Is there only one community manager for all of the Cryptic games?
I don't think so. I think when they
There's
do
multiple.
the Neverwinter streams, it's a different community
it's
manager.
somebody else, right?
I think Kale does double up with was it like Champions Online or City of Heroes or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. I've seen him.
But that game is it's done. I mean, it's still there, but they're not really developing it much further, it looks like.
Well, and whenever I've heard him, in interviews and on 10 forwards and stuff, Kale, I mean, it sounds like they're pretty good about planning stuff out in advance. Like they know what they're working on months in advance. So I don't know that some of the issue isn't because they're like scrambling at the last minute and no one knows what's going on. And you'd think some of these sales and stuff, just to go back to the point we were talking about earlier, are scheduled in advance. But I've heard them say before that they don't have control over that. Like they don't always decide when the sales are. So there's some weird layering of like who gets to decide what happens, and I think it's more of an internal communication problem they have than an external one. Like I don't think it's that they're incompetent at, well, I mean, other than Kale not being able to edit, but I think it's more like the information's not cascading down properly so that they can get it to us.
Right. No,
I agree with that.
I feel that it's. I mean, there was that one I just another example of the whole Twitter thing. Okay, so the communication, they announced the release of the Cerritos and the revamped tutorial 2 weeks after it went live on the console. And of course I included it in the video because it was there, but a lot of the comments already were it's already out. So it how was that not automated? Again, I don't know how it goes behind the scenes, but it just seems, I hate to use that word, but unprofessional. And you have newer players coming in, they're missing out on certain things possibly and such like that, where one of our goals is to help out, right, the community as best as we can. And it would just be really nice if dates were wrong. And then the red alert that's coming up, I just said it in the video there on the title, it says you're going to get 3 things: the specialization point, the ultimate tech upgrade, and the T6X upgrade. In the blog, they don't have the T6 upgrade.
Yeah.
So
I didn't see that in the title, but I was commenting when I was going over that on the live stream that I felt like last time we got a tier 6 upgrade, or the X upgrade.
Now someone did make a comment.
The thing is, Augmented Dictator had a video, and he said, "Stop complaining about the typos on the blog post because they don't really matter." And for most of the typos, that's true, right? Like, we love to make fun of it. It's very funny to make fun of, and most of the typos are harmless. But sometimes they get things like that wrong, where the dates are wrong, the what you get for what you pay is wrong, like stuff that really matters is wrong. Sometimes it's even false advertising. Like, it becomes an issue. Some of those typos are a big problem.
No, and 100%. And it's not, I don't want to, again, I try to be as positive as I can be with everything, because for me, and I've mentioned it on many occasions, that this is kind of like where I go at the end of the day to just, kind of blah, from real life. And to make it where I'm complaining about or commenting every little nitpick here, I don't want to put that much into it. Will I notice it? Sure. But I just move on. But to those, like, miscommunication of information, that's important. That could sway someone's decision on spending real life resources, and it's not, again, not professional. It's the only thing I can think of. And, yeah, exactly, Goofball. And it's for what Stowe's current save for me is very just all over the place. And it feels like, and someone was mentioning it earlier there in chat, all they're pushing down to us is, ships, and ships. Now, we'll get into that a little bit later, but, ships are cool and everything. Hey, I love my ships. I love my pretty pew-pews, right? But, another thing that we'll talk about here is the bugs. My gosh, didn't they just say that they fixed the buff thing? Now, again, Spencer, I don't care about performance as much, but their last tweet, one of the last tweet communication I saw, they said that it should be fixed. I'm reading that for some it is, for some it's not. So literally, it fixed it for some, but maybe it kept it the same for others.
When it comes to bugs, I would just point out that they still have not replaced their entire QA team. They lost a bunch of their QA team, but right before Stormfall, it looks like, or they got moved to some other project internally.
Mm-hmm.
But there were multiple positions up, and there's still some up for the QA. I think right now it's just a QA lead, but that's been up now for a couple months.
Right.
I was watching one of the 10 forwards, and people were complaining about the bugs, and Kale said something like, "If you think it's buggy now, you should have seen it before we did QA." And it's like, that's not reassuring,
Well, and I'd like to address what Augie said, and I think we all agree that our complaints and criticisms, in terms of how the game's being managed, or just some of the issues, and some of this, there's always been complaints in general, and that's true with any game to a certain degree. I think it's a little worse than now because of these transitions and stuff, but I know none of myself or these other three have ever personally attacked Kale or any of those that work on the game. I know that kind of stuff does happen. That's not acceptable, but I do think it's fair to give that constructive criticism that we're all having to deal with. And there's no place for people sending nasty and derogatory messages to the devs and those kinds of things. There's no place for that. It doesn't help anybody. People that doing that, they're jerks, and I think we all need to make sure that we remember that when you hear us saying some of these things that sound not nice, well, I mean, it's not even not nice, they're just criticisms. That is a far cry, and it's different from attacking these people personally. I've talked to Kel many times. He's a nice dude. I think he cares about his job and the company and those kinds of things. He's always been nice and respectful to me. I've never seen him act any other way towards anybody else. And so I think we can all agree that nobody should be attacking them personally, sending nasty messages or doing any of those things.
And one other thing I would add to that is that we don't know what his work environment is like. So I'm not trying to blame other invisible people behind the scenes, but it's like, we don't know how much time he's allocated to do his job. We know, for example, that developers and other staff have worked off the clock unpaid. So it's like, okay, well, we can make fun of the editing on the blogs, but what if he isn't given time to do it? So that's why he doesn't, So it's like we don't know. Like we can't assume that we know everything that's going on in the background. And yeah, I guess that's all I would add. Like, just if you're starting to get too angry, maybe,
take a step back.
Take a step back and consider that maybe you don't have all the information, and maybe it's not the end of the world. It's easy for us who are so wrapped up in it and have these YouTube channels and everything to sit and talk about it. But it's like, well, at the end of the day, there's a war in Ukraine. There's other stuff going on in the world.
Heat wave going on. Holy jeez.
I think a big thing too for like a lot of the frustration here directed towards Kale. It is his job to be the one that takes all that frustration.
Facilitate it, yeah.
To deal with the player base.
And to add to, both of that, I mean, it's, I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And I generally don't do a lot of criticizing. I mean, I'll point things out when I see them and stuff. But, it gets to a point where, if I'm not speaking up, I'm not being honest with some of that, and while I don't hold any of that personally against Kale or whatever, that is his job. He is the buck stops there, at least from the forward facing side. But at the same time, as Gauss said, I don't know. He may not even have known that sale was happening. That might have been something that just was turned on and flows down, so it's easy for us to sit here and say these things because they're the people out front, and that's their job, is to be out front and take some of that blowback. And I would assume he would be like, hey guys, why didn't you tell me about this sale? I didn't post anything about it. People didn't see, they missed out. Because I view his job as also being an advocate for us to the company, the higher ups and the devs and stuff. So but at the end of the day, we only see what we can see, right? And we have the forward-facing side, Kale's the community manager, and we have some of the issues that we see, and that's the person we're supposed to bring that stuff to. And I think that's totally fair to do that in a respectful and nice professional way.
Mixed, apparently, I can hear you just fine, but apparently your level is pretty low. Well, Goofball said, make a little louder.
Here, I'll adjust on the back end. Is that too much?
Easy now.
You're making Triz excited. You can see it on his face. I'm looking at.
Whoa!
We went through this last time. Here, I'm gonna move my mic a little.
We need some more muffin.
and okay, so right. I'm not sure if you saw that, Gauss. I'm not gonna speak to that, but maybe you want to. Do you see a sub message there?
Oh, no, I'm not looking at the chat, sorry.
I'll read it for you. So, Gosto, I think it was you who had the toxic positivity YouTube video where you can't say anything bad about the game.
Yeah, I think there is some people who will deflect all criticism because they just don't want to hear it. And I understand that, I mean, you were saying earlier, like, for us, it's easy to be really cynical, but for a lot of people, most people who play the game, or, I know for me, when I play other games, that's your downtime. That's your escape. So people don't want that negativity in there. They're trying to escape the negativity in the rest of their life. So I sympathize, right? But at the same time, things don't get better if you don't say anything. And that's also our job, right? I mean, we would be not doing a good job as content creators, I feel, if we never said anything or never pointed anything out, because otherwise, what motivation is there for it to get better? I think just as human beings, we'll go along with, we don't want to rock the boat. We'll go along with things as long as there's no pushback. And we're like, I'm not trying to put too much, give ourselves too much credit, but it's sort of like the average player who just plays the game is voiceless. Mm-hmm. And we are the conversation leaders, at least publicly, for some outside the company. The company has a community manager. They literally pay someone, I'm not calling it propaganda in a negative way, but it's like, they literally pay people a salary to be their voice where's the voice for the players? So that's our job to, and people will resonate with each of us individually if they like our opinions or not. But it's like we're like the aggregators for what the public opinion is. And if we're never critical of the game, then nothing will ever get better.
Yeah, no, I tend to, again, I point it out, and I guess the attitude I have, and speaks to what you said earlier, Gauss, is this is my downtime. Yeah, I'll point it out, but I guess that'll also depend on how one plays, and I feel like I've talked about this a lot. Yes, the game has issues, loadouts. I'm still having issues with loadouts, but it takes 3 seconds, a minute to put back whatever came off or whatever have you. I'm not going to lose my ever-loving mind over it. Is it annoying? Sure. But I just choose not to. I think it's just the way we would react or, I guess in our case, how we put it out there. Personally, again, someone called me, I think even Augie, I think all of us possibly, like a shill or whatever. And I was like, I just choose to be positive. That's it, and it's not because I'm, I've said so many times in the videos, Stowe is not perfect, but we want to try to bring attention to it in our own way, right? In your way, Gauss, McStud's, way, Spencer's and all the other content creators like Augie, he says he's not negative about Stowe. Yeah. Or he's not always positive. Yeah, because there are issues here. And that'll also come across in the way you bring it out there, especially, when we're in a public forum. Thank you so much there, Rye and Wesley. I appreciate that. Holy jeez. About Shoot the Messenger. Yeah, definitely. So Kale is just doing his job the best he can, right? Could you imagine trying to take the full brunt of a bug that's not even your fault, that you didn't even know about, and then you're faced with it on stream, right? I think he mentioned on stream when he was with us here on the bridge once that, yeah, there's just some days he just can't take it. Just some days he just, no. And, at the end of the day, he's human. Wesley, thank you. Despite Stowe's age, it deserves investment, fresh content, quality of life improvements, not just milked out cash players give. Yeah, no, and bugs can also push people away. Not everyone is going to be like me. You're special. You enjoy taking punishment. Wow.
Well, and I think it would be hard to have Kale's job. I mean, if we're being fair, right? I mean, there are a lot of problems, but again, that is Kale's job, and again, people should be respectful and that kind of thing. But, that's a tough spot to be in. I get it. I mean, there's a lot of bugs, and there's problems, and there isn't a lot of games. I mean, I play pretty consistently, Star Citizen. You want to talk about bugs? I can have a month's worth of, Star Citizen equivalent, EC in my cargo hold, and the game crashes and I lose it all, and that's just part of it, and so I'm pretty tolerant to that. But I think that, the way that we react and we make content, especially when we're being critical, that's a reflection on, the things that bother us personally, right? For you, Triz, it's not, the bugs don't bother you as much. For me, the gambling doesn't bother me that much. I mean, it bothers me, but I don't do it, right? Yeah. I don't gamble, and I don't encourage other people to gamble. But, but because it doesn't bother me, I generally don't talk about it a lot. If someone asks me, I certainly will, give them my opinion on it. And there's nothing wrong, with Gauss. That's definitely, one of the I think the special things that really, bothers you is, the way that monetization. And I agree with your assessment of that 100%, but that for you personally bothers you even more, and so my point is that, the way that we either criticize or like the game, in general affects the way that we make our content, be it a positive or, a negative thing about the game.
And I would jump in again, because I've been doing that a lot. Sorry. That we've had some victories, right? Look at Vanguard Specialists. If people didn't complain, that would not have gotten changed, and it would have been terrible otherwise. Or look at the Legendary Daredicks that got some stat boosts. So, even if it's not something major like getting new content or getting the gambling removed or whatever, like the complaining has worked sometimes. The criticism has actually resulted in positive changes.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to Night Kiwi. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. So, yo,
Did you know that the loadout system is like 8 years old? I think I read
Yeah,
a
you
while
mentioned
back on Reddit.
that. I didn't even really think about. See, and again, so I'm going to touch quickly on what Gauss said about the traits and stuff like that. At this point in my Stowe life, I have enough traits to do okay in quote unquote elite content in Stowe. I don't need every new bloody console, bloody traits to get by in what I play nightly. Stop it! Stop it, Spencer. I've always said,
DPS,
listen, I've always said I
top
dabble.
25.
Listen, I've always said I've dabbled in the DPS. Okay.
I do enough to be okay for elite content.
Okay. Can I get my point across? Can I get my point across? I can just turn your screen off, really. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
But I'll go back to what I'm
He
trying to
just
say.
likes to humble brag. That's all.
No, but I would rather get a ship not necessary for performance. So if the Farragut came out, okay? If the Farragut came out from Strange New Worlds, that was Kirk's ship. It had the next best console. It'll give you 100% everything for the next 30 seconds. I'm sure, and trait or whatever console. I wouldn't get it. Why? It's ugly. Not my liking. It's literally that simple for me. It has to be a ship that I want. A look that I want because I feel like I already have. Okay, thank you for revving your. Jeez.
Well, you're a grinder, right? So I mean, your resources are, you're making a lot more hard choices there.
He's above a whale. He's like a kraken.
I am
right,
not,
or whatever.
sir. Have anyone seen your inventory? But the point for me again, this goes to individual gameplay, like what Stud says. How I play the game is not dependent on me having the best things in the game because I already have enough to do 1.7 mil in a controlled environment ISE. Whoop-de-freaking do. But when I'm doing nightly pews with my fellow captains who are sometimes ranging from new players to advanced to, of course, elite, yeah, it's fine. I don't need another trait, another console that's going to get through the map another 3 seconds. I don't feel that my resources is going to be spent wisely that way for me because it's the way that I play. And that's why I'm very careful in sort of recommending. I don't tell anyone you got to do this. No, you don't. You can get through the game easy enough, especially to those who just play Star Trek Online for the sake of just playing Star Trek, right? One of the emphasis that I have, especially with new players, I know Sub, you were talking about it earlier. With new players, it's hard because all the bugs aren't guaranteed. But if you're going through the story, great story. Play for it for start. There's a lot of streamers that I've seen out there that just play for the story. They enjoy it. I look at their, activations or builds. They're getting through fine, even though they're not hitting any active, abilities. I know that bugs Spencer to no end, but they're still making it through. So that's my sort of view on just newer stuff. I don't always have to get the newest thing. I know I was told, you should get it because, it makes surgical strikes that much better. I was using surgical strikes before. That became, not me, but a lot of other people, because I just chose it. Yes, sir.
These people that you're talking about doing the story missions, not hitting any content, do you think you could have took them up with me? I want to take them through a hive space normal.
Hey, that's another discussion I had in another time, because that's Ryan, thank you so much. I appreciate that case. Lord I660. See, look at that. They see, and Dwayne, again, there are different types of way of playing the game, right? We've all essentially made it up, whatever our end game is. 90% of my end game, people already seen it nightly. What do? Paperwork. But it's the end goal of, what I want to do. Now, I feel that I'm at a point where I need to be a little bit more picky with what I get, because resources now that I've gathered over the years has been used up lately, which speaks to, one of the other things we'll get to is, of course, the amount of ships that they're releasing. it's a lot. And sometimes I do like the ships. Mind you, they've sold us what? How many times have they sold us the Miranda now, Spencer?
Hey, that was my point, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, another Miranda? Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, like it's another one. I want it for the pods. Personally, I'll probably just get the fleet version so I can get that unlocked. But sometimes it is about the looks. But some 7, Yavi, how's it going? But yeah, so I mean, again, bugs aren't fun. They're obviously not. As we make fun of it and we just say it's features, but it can be frustrating for others. And just like Gauss said, as much as this is a place for me to sort of wind down today, and I can just get sort of just overlook it, some people can, and the anger is real. I've seen some people angry and leave the game because of the feature, the bugs feature, whatever, and it's just, I don't like seeing that, because that's just one less player that could possibly just keep Stowe going. I know I've heard it before in the stream. Jeremy said, was it Jeremy or Kale? I don't know, that they were, I'm paraphrasing, that they were catering to the higher, to the whales. That did not come across very good. I saw some negative feedback from that, and that was not really something that should have been said. And again,
Well, I think it's a mistake if that's the case, because even if a completely free-to-play player brings value to the game needs to have population, to feel good in social zones, to do, different queues and things like that. So people just being in the game and playing the game and playing through the content and building up fleets and doing these things, even if they don't spend $1, does have it does equal a monetary value at the end. If it was only whales that played the game, they wouldn't, because it would be empty. And so if that's truly the way that they look at it, and I don't believe it is 100%, I do think it is weighted that way though. But that would be a mistake.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the two ECs I had on that. Did Ross McStuds, Spencer, anything else to add to the features, bugs, communication part?
I would say that the bugs this year, like this year seems like a greatest hits for the bugs, right? Like there's bugs that it's like the farewell tour greatest hits, because it's bugs we've seen before that always come back, and it's like every major bug has come back this year and like at full strength, the loadout bugs, the server lag, like whatever it is, it's been there. And they claim there's no spaghetti code going on, but you'll see a patch note that changes something, and then something completely seemingly unrelated will break completely, and it's like, I don't know how that happens, and I feel like they've lost, Spencer was saying they're back up to like, a victory is life levels of staff, but it does feel like in that they've lost institutional knowledge. And so I don't know that they still have people who have the expertise with the code base. So I feel like the bug stuff is not really going to get significantly better. Like they can assign people to it if they're hiring more staff, but those people are going to need time to get familiar with the code base. And some of these long-lasting bugs they haven't been able to fix for whatever reason. Like, I'm not blaming them for it. Maybe there's some intrinsic reason that they're not fixable. But it's like, I mean, I'm not convinced that we're not going to see the loadout bug come back. I'm not convinced that we're not going to have server lag again, which is not a bug. It's a separate thing. But like, I just feel like these bugs are perennial, and some of them are really off-putting. Like the loadout bug in particular, and maybe this is a content creator thing, because like we make videos, the least fun thing in this game is setting up a new ship and setting up your hotbars and all that kind of stuff. And the loadout bug makes that worse. And it's like, it does turn me off from wanting to play the game.
That happened with a torp boat with all the manual fire trays. It's like, I might just alt F4 for right now. Call it a day.
Well, that's because that's your robotic tendencies. Stud, anything else to add to that one?
No, I don't think so.
Ryan, again, thank you so much for that. If we are going to spend so much money on Stowe, they should reward us with, I don't even know how to say Kate. I don't ops. How do you say that word?
Citation.
Citation? Okay, thank you. Because English is hard for me sometimes. I agree.
Oh no, I would be really curious to see what the internal development process is like now, compared to I don't know how it was years ago, but just an idea of what they're doing internally, because there's lots of things that get mentioned that we would think would take a ton of time, and then they just always are saying we don't have capacity to do this anymore. Like if a bridge shows up in a story mission back in the day, that would be right added to the ship. But we don't even get that nowadays.
Well, I'm often accused of being cynical, which I am. That's fair. But whenever they do a remaster of a ship that doesn't come with any kind of a new sail, I'm always like, it's coming, and it always has been. I'm hard pressed to think of a time they didn't remaster the skin for a ship that didn't eventually, end up for sale.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
the ship.
Go ahead, Spencer.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Trizia.
No, all I was gonna say is just to kind of add to maybe just when it comes to communication stuff like that, what I don't like is also the console, because I do have a console account now, and it's sort of weird where there's sometimes it can line up events at the same time and sometimes it can't. Summer event is both on right now. Why can't they just keep doing that so that there's not this weird blog backup or whatever? It confuses everyone, because even when we cover it, there's questions all over the place. So that's the only thing I want, that I wish they could just have all the events the same, because right now on console still we've only had one event for the event campaign, and we're on PC on the third one right now.
Yeah,
we just finished it. We're done with the third one, and consoles only had one, and that was the Borg one.
Here's a hot take, Triz. The separate platforms for Stowe on console was a mistake, and they should spend like a quarter or something probably looking at how they can merge the PC and console servers together to help the entire player base out.
Like, I mean, there's times that I'm in a zone map and holy jeez. It just sort of
Ghost Town?
Yeah, it's really empty. Like, the only I was able to do the Undine battle zone only because there was 7 people in it. One zone, okay? There's one zone. Same thing with the VOD battle zone, but anyways.
Well, even if they end up doing the other 4 events, it's like it's July, so you're gonna get one event for the first half of the year,
Yep.
and the other 4 are gonna have to get crammed into the back half of the year. That's poor planning on their part.
Well, I think when I started the account on console, the event ended in January, February. So they're gonna be probably the same thing, but yeah, only one event has been going on so far. At least we should be on the second one, so that we're only event behind PC. But it's, a winter event, even that too as well. But I think for the most part, and this is probably gonna go to the next point that we're gonna talk about. But I'm gonna let Gauss kind of take this one because he wanted to add this one. So I'm gonna get you start this one off.
About what? Sorry.
You said you wanted to talk about a cryptic embracer review the game, contrast that to.
Oh yeah. So I feel like I'm doing most of the talking tonight. So sorry to the other two. So one of the questions that you had kind of posed to us was, what more content can come from Cryptic, and not just ships or a couple of featured episodes. And I've been following what's going on with World of Warcraft, and it's just like 2 different stories. So World of Warcraft is an older game, so clearly age of the game isn't everything, and their reputation, Activision Blizzard, is at like an all-time low. You know, all the sexual harassment stuff, the Cosby Room, the Blitzchung thing, Bobby Kotick threatening to kill his assistant over voicemail. Like, it just goes on and on and on and on. Like, all the reasons people would hate the company. And then the last 2 expansions they've had for the game have been poorly received by critics and players. Their numbers of subscribers have been in free fall. Like, it, by all metrics, the game is like horrible. Like, it's at an absolute low point. Their response to that, they came out with a video that was basically like, we're sorry, we're going to listen to your feedback now. They're redoing the UI for the first time ever. Basically, it's like a soft relaunch. They're redoing the way flying works. If you don't know anything about WoW, this stuff doesn't matter to you, but like, the point is, they're overhauling a lot of core game mechanics. They hired a whole huge number of new developers to make sure the new expansion gets out on time. They are investing hard, right? They're like, they still believe in the brand, they still believe in the IP, they still believe in the game, and they think that, you know, if they turn it around, people will come back and it will be, you know, profitable again. It's probably still profitable, you know what I mean? So they are investing hard in their game, even though they're at a low point. Whereas when I look at Star Trek Online, as much as I would love to believe otherwise, I don't see that happening, right? There's no advertising budget as far as I can tell. Every time anyone asks, can we get new battle zones? Can we get new fleet holdings, whatever it is? The answer is always no, no, no. And then, so to expect anything new would be an extra no, because at least with existing stuff like a new fleet holding, they could figure out what it would cost and estimate it. And it's like something that's already in the code. So getting something new added on is definitely like out of the question. So like, people talk about it, and we talked about it last time we did this, like the contrast between, we had the best year ever, why aren't they adding more content? And I don't know that the point I'm getting to here is, I don't think money is the issue, right? Because especially with this Embracer buyout, if they truly believed what Activision Blizzard believes about their own game, that if they put the investment in, that the players will come back, they would find the money. They either have the money, or they could get the money from Embracer, or they could get the money from somewhere, right? I think it's not a funding issue. I think it's a lack of faith. I think they don't believe in the game, and I think they are content to have it on. I think we're on a controlled decline into, you know, maintenance mode. And I don't know that, I think that's deliberate, because I don't think that they believe that they can, like, I don't think they think that if they invested in the game, it would work, right? So how do we convince them? Because we can sit and talk about all day about things we would love to see them add to the game, but you know, if they don't want to do it, it's a non-starter, right? So I guess that's the point I'm making. Like, the first hurdle to get over is, how do we convince them, or how does anyone convince them, if it's even possible, that investing in the game is actually a good idea? Like, if you can't get past that problem, then everything else is just fantasy.
Let me just add to that. And I don't know, for me, my assessment isn't so much that it's a lack of faith or not. I don't believe that they think there's any issue. Like, granted, you know, there's issues in terms of bugs and, you know, and that kind of thing, right? I mean, and that's still is, I wouldn't put it at the top of my list of, you know, bugged games that are out, you know. So I mean, but that's something we deal with, right? But you know, if you look back through, and I did a video on this a few weeks back, where you look at, I worked off of the numbers, daily players from Steam, took some polls, extrapolated, you know, to see what are we looking at, and basically that the trend of playership has been the same for the past 6, 7, 8 years. And so, you know, what you have is you have spikes, you know, for new content drops or events, those kinds of things. But what's happening is it's never just steadily grown. It literally is this up and down, and it's constant for, you know, the past 6, 7 years. I don't think that they believe there's an issue. is my assessment on it. And so what they're doing is maintaining the status quo of how the game is always done. And it's never really grown. I mean, when it went free to play, there was a huge spike. It dropped off, and it just leveled off, and it's just always stayed at that place. And so, my assessment is that they look at that, and if it's maintaining the status quo, it's doing good. They're, and in my mind, I mean, I'm wired different, right? I always want to do better, and I think a lot of people are, but there's other people where that mentality can be the status quo is okay. We're profitable, we're making good money, and we'll just continue with that. And so, because I think I think they love the game. I think the IP is strong. I don't think it's a matter of faith per se. I just think it's a matter of they don't believe there's an issue. And if they're happy with it, that was the intent of the game, because really the problem is there's no end game, right? So there's nothing that really holds people in the game long term en masse. That is, there's a lot of us that have stayed around. We found things to do that we enjoy, but en masse, they don't hold long-term players. They are bringing a lot of new players. I mean, my entire channel is dedicated mostly to beginner guides, new players, and it's only a year and a half old, that I started making contents on that. And it's done well, and that's because there's a lot of new people constantly coming in. They're not keeping them on the back end, and that cycle has repeated itself over and over again for years. And so I really think that they just look at that and say everything's perfect, we're doing the same as we always have. And I think that's a shame. I mean, I would like to see them say, how can we keep people engaged longer, and not have, accounts drop off and stop being played that have put a lot of money into the game or a lot of time and effort. Because if you could keep more people on the back end, they're picking up new people fairly steadily, just enough to replace all the people dropping off. So if they could just do some things to keep some of the people that are dropping off, we would see the game grow and a whole different, I think, trajectory on that. But again, I think they look at it and there's nothing to see here. Everything's fine.
Those are great points. Yeah.
And I think I brought up some similar points last time we talked about how to them, they can keep the constant stream of the new players. And like you said, there was a lot of people hoping with the acquisition that Cryptic would change their development strategies, but I think what they have right now, as much as we may not like it, because their catering to Endgame is just terrible. It's non-existent for the most part.
Well, hold on. Sorry. Hold that thought, Spencer. Sorry. That thought of not caring to DPS, it's weird because they give us traits consoles that just literally has gotten the top DPS at 3 mil, whatever that is. So it's weird that you say that, and I thought I would just kind of point that out and just kind of hear your thoughts after you. Sorry. I mean,
it does feel like that new Shran they put out. I mean, obviously it's not in the game quite yet, but it does feel like that was 100% targeted towards DPS type people,
Which one's that? Is that the one that had the trait that gave you the invulnerability and the 100% crit chance?
That's the Bozeman. The Kabat.
It's the one that had all the kinetic stuff. It's the command ship and has.
I haven't. I haven't
well.
looked at any of that, and what I had said on my stream about it is how many things in the past couple of years have looked good on paper, but the moment we actually get them, we get to play with them ourselves, they suck. So I don't want to say anymore whether a console or trait is good or not until we actually have it. And we can test it to see what it actually does. But
and I don't know that I would go as far to say just because they add things into the game that are heavy, DPS, that is building end game, right? Because even the end game, if you're doing high DPS, is a made up thing that we're doing on particular maps that just suit our needs for doing that. So, adding things into the game that would help people doing DPS, generally those people are people that have played the whole game and are at end game, but I don't know that I would classify that, as a in-game, activity, quote unquote, I guess.
I would say too that the general player base highly overestimates how many actual DPS players there are. I would say that throughout the last 18 months to 2 years since I came back to the game, there are more PvP players than there are high-end DPS players. They do not cater to either scene. Contrary to what a lot of the player base seems to believe. I wish they did. I really wish that they would cater to the high end, but they haven't. And the last time they really catered at all to any high end stuff was when Jet was there, because she played the game at a high level and, you know, wanted to do things for the game that would help players like her.
I mean,
It feels so inaccessible, I think, you know, the high-end DPS stuff, and it's so expensive, you know, especially some of the most powerful stuff has been C-store stuff, to be fair. You know, you talk about phase space membrane or, you know, agony redistributor, some of those like really outliers. But, you know, I still don't have all the best DPS traits and stuff, and I've spent money on the game that I would only spend because I'm a content creator, and it's like, I mean, we're talking about thousands of dollars. It's and then you have to coordinate with people and all that. It's it feels more inaccessible than it used to be if you care about getting, relatively speaking, into that upper echelon.
The hardest part isn't even the cost, it is the other people. Because there's so few people that are interested in that. It doesn't matter how much money you throw at things. Getting a full team together is a pain. And also, just on the topic of DPS, there's some current theory crafting going on right now about a Phaleron Pulse run. And if that happens, that's probably going to, like, the Phaleron may take over both the ISA and ISE tables.
are you being serious?
Well, I said I did one of my longest reviews for a ship ever is my Legendary Scimitar review, and you know, there's a lot of downsides to that Phaleron Pulse, but it does do a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes like how long
Like
for that thing to activate? Like
build up, I think.
McStud, that's a 16-7 opening. How long it takes on a regular Charlie operator? What? Only he would know that. Sorry. No, there is, someone said here, I'm going to touch on two things that I saw here in chat. One was kickstarting for expansions. Now, I know they have said in their streams already, like battle zones, they're done with that. They're just way too much resource intensive to start doing that.
Failed.
It failed, and it's pretty bad. I don't have no fun in that.
It wasn't great.
No, I have no fun there. I only go there to kill a Zinkethi. That's the one we're talking about, right? Zinkethi? Yeah.
It sucks.
It's not the funnest, and even though when they fixed it, like a lot of people, they fixed it I think months after, where people lost interest already. And you know, for me, someone who came into the Voth battle zone, I still enjoy that till this day. And maybe it's because, you know, I think Augie made a mention there, I like things the same. Well, yeah, that's just me. I'm comfortable there. I'm comfortable with how I play, because it's to go through Stowe, my enjoyment is going to be different from everyone else's. And again, like what McStud said, and we've all been saying, our sort of level of end game is different. It may, you know, sort of cross paths here and there, but it's very subjective to each one. So now, if we're talking about resources and stuff, a Kickstarter, I don't know how that would look like. I sort of know what that is, but I kind of like that idea.
That's like crowdfunding, right?
Sounds like it. Like people would.
That would infuriate me, is what that would do.
Think so, it would piss you off.
It would piss me off too, because they make more than enough money.
Right.
Now, I'm not gonna dive into specific sources, but I can look at third-party gold seller sites, and I can see how many of a ship, how many keys or whatever I've sold, and you know, not many people are going through those sources because it's against the TOS. If there's that many being sold externally, how much is Cryptic making, you know, with each of these new Lockbox, promo, whatever ships? Yeah. There's money, like you guys were saying just a little bit ago. Money is not the issue. It's their internal planning, their strategy, what they want to do with the game is the issue there.
Yeah,
well, they're so lucky.
I think the estimate's 24 to 25 million a year in gross revenue.
A lot.
They lucked out completely. It's a perfect storm of IP an audience, because I don't know where they got these numbers from, but they were saying that something like half of their players don't play any other games. And I think we all know from our YouTube analytics that the audience for this game skews older than for most other MMOs. And so we're talking about a demographic of people who
Put that
who
down.
we're talking about a demographic of people who have disposable income because they're adults and they're like middle-aged people. So, a couple $100 a month for a lockbox ship, maybe that's affordable to them, you're right. And for some of them, obviously, a lot of people are struggling, and inflation's out of control right now. That's nothing to do with this, but so I think having an older audience who maybe has more disposable income, who isn't trying to split that disposable income among other games, and the fact that so many Star Trek fans in general are so hardcore, and myself included. I mean, I consider myself a big Star Trek fan. So all those things combined to sort of make the perfect, resilient, high spender, customer that these other MMOs and games aren't getting.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, it has a similar demographic to like warships, and I think you can kind of see that in the price of their stuff. I mean, it's monetized totally differently, but yeah, because I feel like that a lot. Like sometimes I feel somewhat resentful because I'm between a rock and a hard place. I love Star Trek, right, and I don't have anywhere else to go for that. It is really kind of the issue, and I work hard not to feel that way, and it's not like I come here to have fun, number one. So if I can't play, it's not gonna, I have wife, kids, work, it's not the number one priority in my life. I know for some people, it is, and I understand that, but it is important to me. I love Star Trek, and that's the only place I can go to be a part of that, and sometimes I feel like I don't have any choice, Now that doesn't mean I don't mean any choice like spending money and stuff, but it just sometimes it feels kind of bad,
it's we've said this before, and I said there is so much potential right now, and I feel like the ball is being dropped because of all the trick that we have going. Because someone mentioned they want Strange New Worlds in Star Trek Online, and the only thing we've gotten so far from from Strange New Worlds was just the Disco prize, but that's actually from Discovery. If I'm not mistaken, we actually haven't gotten anything yet. Now, what sucks is it takes so long for content to come into the game. Again, we've touched on this before, but other games, they get it like right away. I don't quite understand that 100%, but with... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just looking at Twitter earlier and was going to mention this, but Bordicus is currently, or a couple hours ago, was on Twitter talking about the ending of season 2 of Picard, complaining about some of the effects or something in it. So probably a subtle hint there of they're working on Picard season 2 stuff right now to come out in probably 3 to 6 months.
And again, we all know, and they've said it before in previous streams, in the past couple of years, that it takes them a year to plan out the next year, right? So with all the Trek that has come out, have they had to change sort of their schedule to work around voice actors, work around resources, and all that stuff? But again, what's being left sort of on the wayside is the bugs, the features, all that stuff, the communication. And I don't know what it looks like now with the Foundry. Someone mentioned the Foundry. That's the other thing I wanted to say. I loved the Foundry, and I found it like 3 months before it went. It would be nice if we had that feature back. I 100% miss it. And unfortunately, the team that they have now do not know how to work on it. Or if they do work on it, it's very, very long for them to get it going. Like, I remember when patches would happen with new content, the Foundry would be off, what, Spencer, for a month, 2 months?
Yeah.
Before they would, put it back up. And
very painful times for reasons.
Yeah, and it's, and going back to what I said previously, with all those, content in terms of the VOD battle zone, they're not going to do that anymore. Why? Because it's just, yeah, the Terran battle zone, or Terran, the Zinkethi one sucked. And right now, it feels like they're just going for ships. And for me, personally, what I want to see doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, battle zones. No. I was loving the whole, like, Victory is Life. Those story arcs are just amazing. The Iconian arc, that is the one thing I remember that is still one of the best arcs here in Stowe. I want that type of content. And that was what the episodes were coming out, what, every month? Almost, it felt like. Now it's like quarterly. And that really does kill the sustainability of players, because you do see this, right? You see players come in for new content and then they just drop off when they finish it through it. So I'm not sure what it looks like in terms of keeping maybe not us engaged, but for like newer players engaged consistently. I don't know what that looks like, but I want to be able to have content that is more Star Trek feeling, if that makes sense. You know, especially with Strange New Worlds. I love all the stories from that.
Well, this is a hill I'm willing to die on, but I think they absolutely squandered Kate Mulgrew. And when you look at Victory is Life, one of my favorite parts of that, other than Garrick and Bashir bickering, because I could listen to that all day, but one of the things I appreciated about Victory is Life, and admittedly they got like most of the cast back, so they were able to do that, is that you got some closure between Kira and Odo. And it felt like it felt like the characters we were given in Victory is Life were the same ones from DS9, right? Like, it was believable to me that these were the same characters portrayed by the same actors at some future point in their life. And the events of DS9 impacted that, and we got a continuation of that story. If you never saw Voyager, I'm not sure that the stories they put Kate Mulgrew in would have been lost on you at all. I don't feel like they took any of her character or anything from Voyager and put that into these new episodes. And if they're going to limit the number of episodes they put out a year per year by paying for these voice actors to come back, then, like, please do more. You know, if that's what you're going to do with the actors from the show, I would rather they didn't do it and give us twice as many episodes or whatever. So
I like that, actually. I do like that idea. I would rather that, actually, and then maybe just have the characters still there, but then a text form of whatever they're going to say. You know, I actually like that idea. But, and you know, when it comes to the ships, so them, you know, noticing a lot in the chat there about the whole just ships, and I like my ships, I really do. And we fly them through the same content every night. I don't mind that, because I still get my Star Trek fix, right? Like Stud said, this is where I get my Star Trek fix. And I wouldn't be opposed to a whole new, let's say, Strange New World sort of story arc with, like, what Gauss was saying. Have everyone that they saw on screen there. More episodes. Don't worry about the voice actors. Just give me that, right? Give me constant stream of whatever that's going to look like. I like that idea, actually. I never thought of that. Though it is nice to hear them, it feels like a connection, of course, closer to the Star Trek that we love, obviously, that we've seen on screen, heard on screen. It's nice. It's a nice feeling. I think that's an awesome idea. Instead, you were saying something earlier?
I was just, yeah, no, and I didn't mean to cut in on Gauss. I was just kind of adding to his what he was saying, that, you know, basically Janeway was, that character is completely disconnected from everything that was Janeway. It's just the voice and the character looked the same. And so I agree that it feels wasted, because that could have been any character. It didn't need to be Janeway. I mean, really what they did is just name drop and paid all the money for her voice, but it was completely disconnected from the Voyager show that we're familiar with. I was also going to say something you had mentioned earlier about getting things into the game faster with the shows going. And I think, to be fair, like if you compare it to, say, like Fleet Commander, right? Making new content for that is not very hard. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that, to come up with new ship models, especially if they're designing episodes and stuff, there's certainly, a good amount of time involved. And I think that's probably why, because I know you play that as well, and I think we were talking about that before, how that they already have Strange New World stuff in that game, but it's there's not really much there compared to what you would get if they were to add that content into to Stowe. So I think, to be fair, I think the content comes in at a good enough pace. I mean, I'd like to see more of it, but in terms of it coming in quote unquote synchronization with whatever's happening on screen, I don't see a big problem with that, given what it takes to build new models and new episodes when they do decide to give them to us.
Yeah. Sense?
A minute. Sorry, where were we at? I just got a message. I got COVID brain going on right now.
Dang. Just sort
A
of
likely
thoughts
excuse.
on- this youngin over here. Just any more things on that topic about just content?
I would be fine with a game I used to play, Rainbow Six Siege. They got to a point where within the first couple years, there was a lot of bugs and issues with the game, and it wasn't popular initially, but afterwards people were really happy. They did a season called Operation Health, and instead of doing new content for that season, they aggressively shared some of the big issues they were trying to tackle, and they tackled them. And yeah, they didn't have content out, but just taking that time to go back, resolve some big issues that the player base has had, it did really well long term. And with Stowe, I think if you're an average, just casual player, you don't have much of an issue. But for any of us, longtime players, spending like 3 months just on dedicated to fixes, I think most of us could live with that.
If they said we're gonna skip the next mission, but we're gonna make the tailor better, like the user interface for the tailor better, even though I'm not someone who cares about Barbie, I'd be fine with that, because it's awful.
It actually is pretty bad, actually. The Taylor. I mean, I've had a lot of fun doing with the 12th anniversary, the costumes that came with that. That was really fun, but man, that took a long time for me to do, and it just feels like the opportunity to take advantage of all the Trek and what was it? I think I heard it from. Maybe it was mixed up. They're saying this is like a golden time in Stowe, in Star Trek. Sorry, in sort of general, with all the Stowe all the Star Trek that's going on, and I feel that they're just not taking advantage of it, but almost the way they are taking advantage of just shoving ships down our throat. I don't know. It's hard to kind of put a finger on it, but I feel like the window's closing. That's just at least how I feel when it comes to
I don't know how many other people are Marvel fans, but like the MCU is still going, but it does kind of feel like Endgame was this sort of apex, and like it's a high point. And for me, that's what Victory is Life feels like. It feels like Victory is Life was the last high point, and I don't know whether there's going to be another one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like there could be. I would like there to be, but it just it just sort of feels like maybe Victory is Life was the last high point.
Well, here's another one. What if they just said, "Okay, guys, the next 6 months, we're going to run our regular events. We're going to have some extra rewards or whatever, but there's not going to be any new episode content released for the next 6 months because we're working up for this big expansion that we're going to release at this fixed date." If they did that, and with the Victory's Life, Delta Rising, all those, they posted teasers ahead of time, letting us know what was, what we would eventually be getting. I think they could get away with that, but that would require them to be a bit more open communication wise. But I'd be fine if they sat down right on 10 forward this week and just said, okay, we're not releasing any new story missions until the anniversary event, and then we're gonna drop, like a big expansion worth. I think I could live with something like that.
I wouldn't.
I know it goes
mind
against
that.
their model, but I would pay for content,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like if because I've never played it, but I know like Lord of the Rings Online or some of these other games will do that, right? Where you can just pay for the extra content. And I get that they want to say the whole game is free to play, and that is one of the big positives of the game. So maybe there's trade-offs there, but like if they're willing to hire more people and put out more content, I'd pay for it. I'd rather pay for content than ships at this point.
I wouldn't mind that, because right now, like the last ships that they've been releasing, the majority of it has been reskins. The thing is, I don't mind them. They're pretty. Yes, okay, I'm there with you. But man, could you just throw us a little bit more story here, right? Like it feels like after watching Stranger Worlds, that's a type of feeling I want to get in Stowe, which I've had. I feel like I've had. Like the Iconian, like I'll go back to the Iconian, the Victor's Life. Those were just awesome, great stories, and I wouldn't mind paying for that. Now, if you're referring to it being something called a Battle Pass, Season Pass, sure, I'm down for that, right? And that would that incentivize them to make the overall product better? I would hope so.
Trisander, excuse me for 1 second. I gotta go check my kids. I'll be back.
Oh yeah, no, please. That's always a great thing to gotta check on my kids. Heard a loud bang. No, I guess for me that's just kind of.
They got his credit card, and they were wanting some Roblox coins or whatever earlier.
Roblox. They've gone ham on the Roblox. $99 each. IAP. Bing, 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 bing,
He
bing.
got the notification while he was watching his screen. just all of a sudden there, but no, I think that's all kind of what we had there. We'll ask Mr. if he had anything to add there, but Captains, I just added also like the latest subscriptions here to YouTube. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So I put there in chat McStud's, Casuals, and Gauss's YouTube. So also please consider getting your command codes verified there if you haven't. But this is something we discussed and we're going to be doing a lot with when we have 2 ECs to drop. But we have a couple more things to go over here. I know it's sort of getting late. I know Gauss is just like what 1 o'clock already for you. 2 o'clock. I'm so sorry.
It's 2 actually, but it's fine.
God.
I took a nap. I planned ahead. I took a nap, so it's fine. McStud, or maybe we should start calling him McMuffin, depending on the context. He's gone right now, but I know one of the topics we were going to get to was Spencer's gambling video, and Spencer's here, so I suppose we can move on with that.
We'll have the Spencer start that off himself, because that's his specialty.
So with that gambling video, I made the title all of that. I made it clickbaity intentionally because I wanted people to actually see, how the opening went with it. Now, spoiler if you haven't watched it, I was donated 250 keys by Martin, and I opened them on stream, and I got nothing.
Oof.
Now, immediately, of course, there's always people in the comments that they haven't watched the video. They're telling me clickbait. Why am I encouraging gambling and all this? And if you actually watched it, you would see that it's $250 worth of lockboxes with nothing to show for it.
If Cryptic was smart, they would rig your polls so that you always get a ship every 25 keys, and then you wouldn't be able to make a video like that because
yeah. And the thing is, I had opened 80 lockboxes before that, the previous night, so I was already 80 boxes since the last ship before I started opening that 250, which means that I had passed the pity point at, what is it, like 303, 304, with about 30 to 40 keys left on the opening. So even with
God.
me hitting the pity point, it didn't matter. In fact, I then opened another 100 and something on the stream I did over the weekend here, and I didn't get the ship until like 70 in, because I opened 30 earlier in the stream, and then I opened Nick gave me 100, and I got it finally like 30-40 into that batch of 100. So it was right around 400 boxes till I got that ship, which, had I paid $400 for that ship, I would have been pissed off. I think anyone here, 400 bucks for a single ship. Like, we've talked about the gambling before and how much of a joke it is in this game, but I wish they would do something about it. I sort of like that Neverwinter system. However, what I learned after talking about that Neverwinter system is they removed Lobby from lockboxes, in that it's no longer a drop per box. It's now added to the drop
RNG?
pool
Oh
of
my
what
gosh.
you can get. So,
Wow. Wow.
but
Do they have an equivalent of event campaigns over there?
I don't know.
Did you see
But-
what Chris said though? Look at that 600. What 600?
Yeah,
50
that's
boxes.
rough.
That's rough.
I was just saying before the stream started that I had a similar experience on Tribble where I opened over 600 and didn't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
and
okay.
what was I going to say here? With the Neverwinter system, it's a guaranteed drop after 250 boxes over on Neverwinter. So if they like merge the two systems together, that'd be fine. But that Neverwinter system also means that you could win multiple ships along the way to the 250, and still, once you got to 250, it'd be a guaranteed there's another ship.
Oh, so opening one doesn't reset your guarantee. That I've rarely seen that. Most of the pity systems I've seen where you have a hard pity, it will reset as soon as you open it if you get it early. So that's pretty good actually. I mean, 250 is still too much for a hard
sure.
pity in my opinion, but it's still that's pretty good, yeah.
Welcome back instead.
And
Yes.
the other thing with gambling that
He's like, I gotta check on my kid. He comes back with cake,
That's
or
food.
I don't know. He's like,
I'm sorry. I needed it bad.
comes back with a kid at his side crying because he's going to charge back the 3,000 in Roblox he just charged.
I said notifications came up on your screen saying they're thank you for your Roblox purchase. Thank you for your Roblox purchase. Thank you for your...
Or some Minecraft server, from what I remember hearing.
Yeah.
No, we were just talking about the loot stuff again here, mixed up. But I mean, with the event campaign, now that they're given to us, we have that choice to get three things, right? Chip, low buy, these coupons. Which with all three of those things, you can get ships, which I absolutely love, and it's great. I think it's a great system that they've implemented, and really you can almost tell anyone, if they invest the time being just doing the events, you can get any ship you want in game. Hell, will it take you years to do that way? Yes. But a lot of people already get fed up, and that's why they sort of count on these sort of mechanics to give them the money, the resources. And I've said already multiple times, it is flat out gambling, and you have to sort of make that decision on your own. I open it for the low buy. Is there always that back thought in my mind? Of course, that I want a ship when I'm open. Of course. Have I won ships over the years? Yes. I don't know how many boxes I've opened, but I know whenever there has been a new shipper that I want, I would maybe open up to a max of 60. That's it. I put a hard cap on it. That is all that I do. If I don't get it, fine. And then of course I'll deal with the results. It'll hurt a little bit, but I know that I got the low buy for it, which I can spread amongst my tunes or whatever.
Because the average reward is so skewed by winning the ship. I think like the saddest thing I see is actually when people open like 20 boxes, because it's like, that's just right in the trash, right? Like the chances of winning are so low. Like if you're gonna do it, anytime I've done lockboxes, it's because I wanted or needed a ship that was just not on the exchange. People weren't selling it, so there was no other way to get it. And then it's like I'm doing it begrudgingly, and it's like you just open until you win, and then you stop, right? So I think if you're gonna do it, if you and like and I would discourage people from doing it, but would never blame anyone who gambles in the game. I think that's the wrong attitude to have. People who like gambling, who gamble, they're not the problem. Let them gamble. I know Spencer likes to gamble. And and that's true. Like the people who gamble are not the problem. It's the company and the monetization practices, in my opinion. But if you're gonna do it, be prepared to go until you win, because it sounds like sunk cost, but it's like you're getting the ship is like that's where your average payout comes out. So like you may as well go until you get the ship and then stop.
So, if you don't mind me bridging this into a similar topic, this is something I've been thinking about doing as a video, but I was looking at the prices of lockbox ships. So, I've talked in the past about how the reason ship prices keep going up is because there's more and more ships being added to the same box, and there's only so much supply of the one box. So, we're well over 50 ships in the Infinity T6 box at this point, and it's just diluted the supply so much that like I'm seeing people in the past couple of weeks trade Infinity Lockbox ships for a promo ship. Just a direct trade.
Just straight up.
Because some of those Lockbox ships are off the exchange. And I think I said this was either our previous stream or in a video at one point. I said that STO should always have a way to provide outside of gambling for players to be able to get a ship without the gambling mechanics, and them not doing so is just enabling the gold sellers. There should always be a way right on the player exchange to be able to get a ship, and they need to do something to address that. My personally just allows to sell the ship box itself, the T6 choice pack. That would help with the supply being diluted, but the current implementation, it's just going to keep getting worse. I mean, what's going to happen when the crossfield refit gets added to the Infinity T6 box here in a couple months? What's that going to do to the prices? Like, I'm already selling the ships when I do sell them 1.4, 1.5 billion on the exchange. That's just not sustainable for the economy, in my opinion.
You know how old people always remember the price of gas from when they were young? Like I remember 99 cent a gallon gas.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm old, but I'm not. We're about the same age, okay? So,
I don't...
but it's like I remember like a Lobi ship would be like 200 million or less. A lockbox ship 400. Promos were like a billion, 800 million maybe. So the fact that we have gotten to the point where lockbox and promo ships have more or less equaled out on the exchange anyway, that's crazy. I mean, it just goes to show the insane inflation and the problem he said, where the more choices there are, because people may not remember, there used to be two different choice packs, because there was like the special one that had only a few ships in it that were worth less. It was rarer, it was harder to get, but they were worth less than a regular Infinity ship because there were so few of them and they were mostly undesirable that they flooded the market. So they were just the VOMF. If you wanted a VOMF, you could get one super cheap for a long time until they integrated the two boxes.
I missed the 70 mil VOMFs, or the Atros was the other one, I believe. There was literally just those two ships in there, and then they realized that mechanic for having two ships in a lockbox was a terrible idea, so they did it for the two, and then no more. Because the drop rate on those, when they were initially in their respective lockboxes, was like 1 in 650.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it was
it's like it's perfect proof of what you're saying. You know, that box, that choice box, was rarer than the regular box, but those ships were worth less on the exchange because there were just so many more of them.
and for like cheap lockbox ships, I can remember getting a Tal Shiar adapted destroyer for 40 mil. But that was
Wow.
also at a time
Jeez.
when Mark 12 very rare anti-proton attack consoles were selling for like 30 mil.
Wow.
Like you had to
At the same
do
time.
prototype alien crafting, and it was complete RNG as to what console you would get. But this was before fleet consoles. Fleet weapons were a thing, but this was before the Fleet Spire was even out. Like it was a very different time for the game.
Especially when I came in game was actually when they released, yeah, the dice and stuff. That was the fleet holding that came out with that. Ryan, thank you so much. There are a number of gotcha games that very transparent pity system would be good of Stowe. Yeah, no,
When your pity system is worse than Raid Shadow Legends, you got a problem.
Yeah.
I heard that was pretty bad, but I feel like they're leaving just again. Said this before, they're leaving money on the table. So why not sell? What you, if I'm understanding this correctly, Spencer, you want Stowe to sell ships off Stowe directly to someone on a site of their site. Is that what you're?
No, I'm saying that Cryptic not providing a way to obtain many of the ships directly through the game outside of the gambling mechanics is creating a fairly significant third-party market. That is against the terms of service, but you can look at the stats, and the numbers of sales that they are pulling is just, it's insane. It makes you wonder, when it comes to like new promo ships, how much is Stowe raking in with some of those?
It has to be a lot.
Be nice if they were actually to do that themselves, because so they can get them. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking wrong, but you would think that they could do that themselves.
Let them do an experiment, you know? Like if it fails, fine, right? Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe the people spending hundreds of dollars on gambling ships really want the gambling. But just once, you know, have a new ship. Let's say it was earmarked to be a promo ship or an infinity ship or whatever, because they're too lazy to even do new lock boxes anymore most of the time. Just put it straight into Mud's market for $200, right? And see if it sells. Because if people are really willing to spend a couple $100s on a ship, wouldn't they rather get an account unlocked and just pay an upfront price? I mean, like I would still maybe complain about the price, but like a lot of my complaints would disappear. It's the gambling I have a problem with. So like, you know, just do it once. Just do it one time. You know what? If it's a failure, fine. It's a failure. Just let them try it once. You know, if we can get away from the gambling, if they make just as much money, why not do it that way?
Maybe even more.
I'm looking at a listing. I won't post the link because I don't want people going there, but for a Discovery Connie flight deck carrier, you know, the Disco Connie that everyone goes nuts about, $125, 32 lists, or 32 have sold just on this one listing on this one site. So $125 times 32, what is that? That's $4,000 just for that one ship. That is money not going into Cryptic's wallet. That's money going to a third-party seller because Cryptic is unwilling to provide a way to directly obtain the ship in the game for people.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind more
someone had to
legendary
open
ships.
it. Someone had to open it to sell it, though, so they still got money that way. But it does go to show your point, I think, because if the more ship choices there are, the more, because like if you could get it for less than that by selling keys on the exchange and buying it, why would you pay 125 on a third-party site?
Yeah.
If you could just sell the choice box, those third-party site prices would drop
massively.
Yeah. And I do like, I don't mind more legendary ships, Ryan, but please stop selling the fluff with it. I haven't even spent my 2 level up packs that I've gotten in the last 2 years, I would rather just buy the ship itself. That's kind of sort of for me fine. And again, more money being left, and I still, I mean, again, like I could be wrong, but fine, sell the ship T6 with all the console, the tray, whatever. Give me a tier 5 ship version of it, something cheaper. Some people just want the skin. Really, they just want the skin. But a fleet version, I don't care what you want to do. Yeah, the only way you can get is fleet modules. Like, that turns a lot of people off.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Lockbox and promo ships with a fleet version. So if you don't care about the console and trait, you can still just get the ship.
Yeah, just for the skin. I wouldn't mind for a tier 5. Because I think we all can agree that tier 5 ships are just fine, right? Especially in a coordinated run group. If we're talking about high DPS runs, any ship is going to be fine. I think, was it, Spencer, the golf ball? Not the golf ball.
Battle.
Was it the Malon? No.
Battle cruiser.
He was saying something. What the ship that was taken? It only had. Oh my gosh. The TO. No, it wasn't the Malon. It was a 2-1 weapon layout. It was the medical ship from TOS. Or maybe it was just an old berth that they took to like 2 million DPS at one time.
No, it was just under 1 billion. This was just like right before COVID hit.
Okay.
But that's a supported environment. That is
that one. Yeah, but
that's not realistic.
No, but and again, if we're just talking about just how ships can perform, right? Obviously, you're not gonna take a tier 2 into a Corfez. Well, maybe Spencer would, but and probably still out DPS me.
The thing is, it's the ships don't really matter. It's the player that matters when it comes to performance.
I know.
I mean, obviously, a certain ship is going to be better, but a good pilot can do good with a bad ship. A bad pilot can't do good regardless of how good the ship is.
Well, if you're getting runs that are down into, sub 60 seconds, 1 second starts to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So your piloting starts to outweigh a lot of the littler things.
Yeah, I wish that they would give us just versions, like stripped down versions of them, because some people just want the ship. They just want the ship. They don't care about the trait, they don't care about the console. There'd probably be, if the Cheval, the California class, the Parliaments, the, let's say, incoming ships, the Stargazer, the Excel 2.0, if those ships had a tier 5 version of it only, I get it.
I wonder how many people buy the tier 6 version just for the appearance. Like, how much would that cut their sales? Not that I'm crying any tears for them if that would happen, but I'm just saying, like,
But it speaks to whether or not they would do it, because I was thinking about that the whole time. If doing that meant that they would sell less keys and and those kinds of things, then I would highly doubt that we would see something like that.
Yeah. But
if you don't mind just backtracking a second here. The comment on ships being constantly available. I'm looking at a listing for the Section 31. We know that's in a MUDs bundle you can get for $150. You get it account wide, and it's not constantly available. So that listing, 27 sold, $125 per for just that ship for one character. Like, Cryptic is losing money by not having things constantly available for people in the store.
Right, because your point is there is clearly a demo of people who will pay $125 straight up.
Yeah.
So if they were doing it, they would have gotten that money.
Yes. And that's just one seller on one site. So, like, that $4,000 for the Disco Con, how much is that when you group up all the other sites? It's probably a fairly substantial number. And yeah, for a company like Cryptic, 20, 30 grand may not be the biggest thing ever, but if that's, per ship, they're bleeding money potential there, in my opinion.
Well, and over how much time was that?
The Section 31 I can't see. I see at least 10 lists, or like up to 10 listings since or 10 sold. How many actually here?
I mean, I think
I
Augie
can't count.
deserves a kickback for that. I think he single-handedly
Here, take a look at this in
brought up the
Discord.
popularity of that ship.
Truce, don't look at that on stream, but the rest of you can.
For some reason, I had you and Gauss freeze up. That's fine. I think everyone can see that too, huh? Two froze, you guys see. Yeah, Ryan, thank you
That's
so
an
much for
interesting
those.
OnlyFans link
I
there,
appreciate
sure.
it. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Studs OnlyFans. Truce is the only member so far.
No.
Let's not talk about that. So, I one
At the
day
highest level too. It's amazing.
yeah. So Mixed-Ed. Okay, I'll try to fix that. But the important thing is you can see them or hear them, I should say. Mixed-Ed, is there anything else you want to add to that lockbox, Ross or Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, my just kind of overview, because I think I missed about half it there, but I personally, I don't have a problem with gambling, as long as it's transparent. I don't gamble in Stowe because I don't think it's transparent, and most of the time when I'm opening a box, it's for a ship, because honestly, there's not a lot else that's good that's in it, is really the problem for me. And so, we've speculated, man, if they could just add, more stuff that's valuable, that means they got to go make more stuff that's valuable. And so then, we're thinking, well, what about if you could win, ship consoles and stuff? Well, then you potentially would buy ships, So for me, the lockbox thing, I don't have an inherent problem with it in general. I do have a problem with a lockbox system that doesn't give you, number one, doesn't give you your odds right off the bat. That's a no-go for me. And I don't think it's right. And so I don't open them unless I legitimately need a couple extra Lobi or something for something I'm buying. But now with the events, the year-long campaigns and stuff, that tends to not be a problem. Plus, I've played long enough to where I kind of have all the stuff that I want. I'm not rolling new tunes and things like that. So, I mean, you're better off buying the keys and selling them. But with the way that some of that inflation's happening, I mean, that's what, doubling, tripling in price from 2 years ago to buy keys, sell them on the exchange so you can get, I mean, I know the keys have gone up in price some, but I don't think that that's gone up at the same kind of pace that some of those lockbox ships have, relatively speaking. I mean, maybe it's close, I don't know, but to me, that if that's something that I want, I'm gonna do I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna open boxes. It just feels too bad to me. And right off the bat, I would never buy anything that I didn't know either I'm giving you money and you're giving me X, or I'm giving you money and I'm maybe going to get something, but at least I know what, what my chances are. The fact that there's not an official chances that are put out for me is just, it's a no-go. It's not happening.
But you do.
And this is not to take away from the work that Spencer and other people have done on finding the odds. But I know there'll be some people who say, well, that's kind of moot because we do know the odds, right? Well, for one thing, that's not 100% true. Our understanding of the pity system that exists and the odds have changed over time as we've gotten a more refined view of it. But also, even if the numbers that we have now, the community numbers, are 100% accurate, which they're probably not
different
100%.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. But even if they were 100% accurate, which they're probably not, they're probably close though, there's a big difference just morally between the fact that they won't even acknowledge it, right? Like, they need to come out and give out the numbers. Like, that seems like an important distinction. There's a big difference between us figuring it out and them actually telling us.
100%, Augie.
I was about to say that. I don't know about the top hat, but
there's the moral side of it, and there's, I mean, that's really, I mean, the main thing. And I mean, how do I say, it's not the greedy side of me, it's the, I don't know, I'm not gonna chance my money without knowing what those odds are. I mean, to me, it's just unthinkable. And I think Spencer and these guys have worked out pretty well what the odds are, but because they don't officially tell us, they could change them anytime they want to. And maybe they have over time. Maybe they've gotten better, maybe they've gotten worse. I don't know.
And how do we know they're not targeting individual people, right? Like,
right. I always think about that. I'm like, you know, I don't open it much, so maybe, you know, I'll win a couple because they want to get me more into. I start thinking this crazy stuff, you know, like
I don't think it's
where
that crazy. I mean, I
where
don't know.
people
I'm
are
not saying
weighted
Cryptic's
differently.
doing it, but I'm sure
Right.
some companies do.
Yeah. Yeah, like someone like Spencer, you know, his odds are going to be worse than everybody else's because they know that he's going to just keep doing it. You know, someone like me, maybe my odds would be a little bit better. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's kind of crazy, but maybe there are some that do that where, you know, you have, you know, just I mean, it wouldn't be hard to do, right? A minor algorithm just to look at how
They do.
your
Games
habits
do it.
are of opening boxes.
There's a lot of gotcha games that your offers that you're given are based on how much you've spent, and the base price will be higher and the total value will be lower for people who spend a lot of money. So they absolutely do this in other games. Whether they do it in Stowe or not, I don't know. To be honest, I don't think they're sophisticated enough.
Yeah.
Which is a backhanded compliment, I guess, to them. But I don't think they're, have a sophisticated enough system in place to do it. But that's absolutely a real thing in gotcha games.
Now, there's some things that I've learned since that video too, where I talked about the drop rates. There's actually, right on your player profile on the server, in your data folder, there's a counter for each lockbox. Now, I don't know how it works with the newer promo packs because the data that I got there is from like before 2016, but it just is interesting to see that confirmation of each lockbox different counter. So you open 300 infinity and then 300 of the disco lockbox for the disco refit. You're not hitting the pity point. It's completely different, which is even more another layer of BS in my opinion.
Well, and it's fine if they told me that, because there's been many times I've gotten keys, not many, but back in the beginning where I would buy 5, 10, because I'm not, especially back in the beginning, like I'm one of those people, I'd buy a game for $40. I'm not giving you more money. Like this whole, MMO game, thing where you make continual purchase. For me, 3 years ago, that was alien. That's crazy to me. That's just not, what I'm a boomer. I'm just not, I never played MMOs. I've never played anything with microtransactions until, 4 or 5 years ago when I started playing Stowe. And, so I'd buy $10 worth of keys and open and that kind of thing. And so sometimes I would open some infinity boxes and then maybe I had some Tal Shiar ones or something, because maybe spread my chances out and stuff. And so really though, what I was doing is I was hurting my odds from getting anything by doing that. And, but why wouldn't I do that? No one, they didn't tell us, and for me, that's crap. That's not right.
No, did anyone hear and maybe this is kind of my last question on this topic. So I watch a YouTube channel by the name of Upper Echelon, and they were covering a story that actually multiple channels covered. And now they're selling cars that are fully upgraded.
Yep, I saw that.
But to unlock features such as seat warmers, such as I think what was the other one? Speed, performance of your engine. You'd actually have to pay something, and the way I think
subscription.
A subscription or
Yeah,
something.
The heated seat subscription, yeah.
Now,
as BMW, I think, is piloting that.
Yes, and he kind of, I think his base of the video was they got it from the gaming industry. Now, thinking of that, I was like, man, so why not just sell us a tier 5 ship? If I want to unlock the tier 6 ability, the console, the trait, I'll upgrade it that way. I'm not even sure if that's even possible, because that would probably be like a spaghetti code that they'd have to unravel and sort of it. But could you imagine though? I would just be buying the ships straight up, and then if I wanted to or needed to, then yeah, sure. But I think that's obviously less money for them. But I thought, listening to that and then thinking, of course, about Stowe, I was like, man, could they even do something like that? Sell us a tier 5 and then just us to unlock features on it. Throw 1,000 Zen to get tier 6. Throw another 1,000 Zen to get it unlock account. Get another 1,000 Zen to get the console, and so on and so forth.
Oh,
They're not
Well,
going to do anything unless we can convince them that there's a problem that they need to do something about.
Mm.
I think
I,
the sad thing is they would hear you saying this and they would say, "Oh, listen to how badly this guy just wants the skin," you know, and it's going to be a monkey paw situation where, you know, if they did do it that way, it would not be for the same price that you would expect, you know, because as soon as they think that you value something and you want it, that's when they go for the wallet, you know, um, as long as they think that people want, if they think people want just the skin, you know, and they would phrase it positively. They'd be like, "Oh, we're separating it out. For the performance folks, you can just get the console and trait, and for the skin folks, you can just get the skin." And maybe it would be less than buying it all together. So they would phrase it as a savings. But in reality, they're thinking we get to carve the user base up a little bit finer and get sales that we wouldn't ordinarily get. And, you know, Trizander, he really wants that skin. And maybe he wouldn't buy if it came with everything, but maybe we can get a little bit less money from him, but still get money from him because he wants that skin if we just sell him the skin. So I think it's almost, you know, I don't think they want you to enjoy the game without spending money on it, sadly.
Something similar to that. Put a really terrible skin on the ships, like the Slime Devils, right off the bat, and make you have to pay to take it off.
Pay extra.
Yeah, but
You of course would say that.
Look
Of course
at
you'd say
Trizander's
that.
face.
something.
Every
along
ship in the
this-
game is free, account unlock, but it has permanent devil slime skin on it.
Oh my gosh. Enough with the slime devil.
Suddenly, Trizander's a whale.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's either you have. It's like, okay, so someone who I keep hearing this. What? They're leaving money on the table. It's either you get the sale or you don't. Again, I don't know what the common ground would be to make something like that, or, you know, someone mentions dill sync. I've never seen, and this may be one of the last points that we talk about, the dill X this high. 6 mil? And they said that the changes they made, what, 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago was supposed to help the dill X? Holy monkey. 6 mil. I have never seen that thing that high. And now it's almost 7 million. Like, they don't want to fix the exchange, because if they did, they would do it. That's not fixing the exchange. Sorry, I don't mean to just throw that in there, but that's kind of also part of everything here, right? It's what we're talking about.
It's a lot of incentive for you to put money in, because if you put money in, you are getting a lot of dilithium for your money.
Yeah, and you know, it's absolutely insane that they keep saying, oh, we can't just put stuff in the deal store, because that's not how it works. Okay, so what you are doing is not working. So what now? Right? And
they've made some decisions recently, or done some things where I start to question, right? I mean, I think the Phoenix upgrade nerf was probably a net negative for them. I think that probably did not work out the way they wanted to. I don't think it had any noticeable impact.
oh, did I just lose?
Sorry,
Gauss?
I think I cut out there. I think I cut out there. My sometimes my graphics driver stutters my computer. I don't think that nerfing the Phoenix upgrades had any noticeable impact on the Dilex, and I think it just pissed a lot of people off. And I just think that was a very short-sighted and poor decision. And then sometimes, you know, this is off topic, but, you know, Bordicus will put out these traits and stuff, and he'll say, "Oh, it's intentionally too powerful," wink wink, and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, this isn't even good.
Okay, there was a comment earlier. Go ahead,
Or
Spencer.
it is, and then they nerf it, you know, 2 months later after I bought it.
The trait that gives you 100% crit chance for 10 seconds. For, like, I think you said, Gauss, it's a noob trap. Or was that Stu? One of you said.
That was me, yeah.
And that's absolutely true, because any high-end endgame build, crit chance is not an issue. This is a trait that is very much incentivized to attract the more casual players who think that a trait that gives you 100% crit chance is the best thing ever, even though it only actually gives you that for 10 seconds at most every 40 seconds, I think it was. So it's got really low uptime.
One time usage in an ISE. Yeah, that's where Spencer went right there. That's right. 40 seconds. I only get to use that once.
For Spencer, it's plus 2% crit chance. You know.
I haven't done an ISE run in probably 2, 3, 4 weeks now.
Well, there was a meme going on. Was it Reddit? Something about
Agony.
Was it Agony Redistributor? Like someone was shooting something, and it was like a Wrath of Khan, and high DPS players split runs or something killed. You know, I thought that was pretty funny. Surgical strikes bill 100. Yeah, I mean, again, for the reason why I brought up that Dill thing is, again, I forgot to put it there in the notes there. It's 7 mil, almost 7 mil now. And the changes that they did was, so Gauss mentioned it was the Phoenix change, the reputation. I thought they did one more thing.
Oh.
That was supposed to help the Dill X.
Well, the reroll tokens.
Yeah.
The reroll tokens.
But that didn't do anything for them.
No.
No one had for the upgrade system, or like the Phoenix upgrades. I figured that the nerf to the Phoenix upgrades is a precursor to Mark 16 gear.
Oh gosh.
So Mark 16 gear, when they made Mark 15, Mark 16 was developed internally at the same time. So a large majority of the groundwork, from what I understand, is already done. Now, you know, they'd like to sell us power. They've clearly said that on this last stream. And what better way than to say, here's another mark for your gear? And especially if they were to increase the level cap up to like 70, I don't think that would be as hard as like an expansion or a lot of the other ideas that people have. If they increase the difficult or the level up to 70, NPC difficulty just increases passively with that. And they want to sell us a new mark for our gear, so that we have to pay to upgrade all of our gear again. Because I think a big issue with upgrades, who's upgrading anymore? Other than, you know, a brand new player. Yeah. We all have our builds epiced out. Like, we have nothing, like, we basically have nothing to upgrade anymore.
That's a good point. If they went to Mark 16, I would burn through all of my dill, all of the, you know, stocks of, maybe I shouldn't even keep saying this, but yeah, they know. All of the Phoenix boxes I have, and then on my free-to-play, I mean, you want to talk about a dill sink, but I mean, that's not long-term, but again, no, I mean, what is, I guess, right? But what is? I mean, what, you know, games have to continually evolve and do things in order to offset that. And it's been quite a while now since they've done anything really meaningful, you know, to do that, because a part of the reasoning of nerfing the Phoenix packs is that, you know, they said that, well, the intention wasn't to make the crafted one obsolete, which costed you dill, which it did, but nerfing it didn't change that, because the crafted one still isn't anywhere near as efficient to use as using the Phoenix you know, packs. And I think really the mistake they made is allowing the Phoenix packs to be available to us year round. Those used to be an awesome dill sink. I remember saving up 1 billion dilithium waiting for the next event to come around. And when it did, I spent every bit of it picking up upgrades, hopefully a ship, you know, every now and then that would happen once or twice. I feel like the drop rate might have even been better back then. I don't know. But anyways, that was an excellent dill sink. It was something I looked forward to. I would do that, buy it, and then I would sit on most of them waiting for an upgrade weekend, you know, and it had a good cycle to it. You could, you know, you get your free ones, but I mean, that would clear out me and everybody I played with of all of our dill, you know. Now, most of us weren't using it to exchange for EC, but still, I mean, that was an excellent dill sink. And when they made that available to us 100% of the time, I think that was a big mistake. And that's when I noticed that exchange really start to go up and up and up more and more and more, because there was just less use for dill. You didn't need to use it on the crafted upgrades. Because I remember watching videos of people upgrading their stuff to, you know, epic with those, and they're just burning through dill. you know. But as soon as you were able to get the Phoenix ones anytime you want, and there's basically an unlimited supply, we started running out of things to spend our dill on after everything was upgraded.
I think they need to just implement some way to trade dilithium or have some kind of like time gated thing to earn Zen by playing the game and just get rid of the Dill-X.
Well, that's a thought there. Did you see that, Spencer?
But
I think once a year, Stowe should buy all the dill on the market.
I mean, I'd like some.
I don't even know
like,
what that is.
Them to get
Possible.
involved with the market, but even if they buy out all of the lithium on the market, it's just gonna go right back up.
Go right back.
There's
Well, here's the
no
thing,
end
like,
links.
if
Is it a problem
bots,
for them,
like,
though? They're making
yeah.
money off of it.
Yeah.
People are buying that, and they're making money from it being the way that it is. So again, is there a problem in their mind with the way that it is, other
No.
than some people complaining about it? There's a lot of people who don't use it, you know, and never have and never will. So I mean, is it a problem again in their eyes that needs to be fixed?
Well, and actually, to your point, the people complaining are not the people spending, so it's easy for them to ignore it. You know, the whole BMW heated seat subscription, the vast majority of people are going to see that and go, wow, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. I can't believe they're doing that. I'm totally against it. But they know that the people who are going to buy it are not those people.
Yeah.
So they don't care, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like, yeah, the people complaining about the Dill-X are not whales. So, you know, it's safe to ignore them, right? It's not a democracy.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they're there to make money, and I get that. And on the flip side of all of this, I will say that their free to play model for someone that has no money to spend is awesome if you have time. I mean, you can get what, 6 tier 6 ships a year, 2 of them your choice. The others are events, they can be hit or miss. The entire game's unlocked to play. You know, so it's easy, you know, and there's legitimate criticisms on, you know, that upper end, you know, when you're looking at the monetization. It always strikes me as so weird because it's such a mess on that end, right? We've been talking about it the whole time, but then at the same time, I don't know any other games that give you, you know, premium stuff like that at the rate that, you know, Stowe does. I mean, if you include the coupon they gave us this year as well, it's 7 ships if you play through all the events, you know, in the year. That's crazy, you know. I mean, that's a lot of money worth of ships and stuff. So I think it's, you know, important just that I just wanted to mention that because it's not all bad, right? I mean, especially if you're someone that's just budget, you might buy a ship here and there. Most of what we're talking about doesn't mean anything to you, right? You know, if it's not that important for you to have a promo. I mean, I got my first promo ship from Nick. I gave him everything I owned in game for it. You know, up until that point I wanted one, but I would never spend that kind of money on a ship. So like I didn't really complain about it much. It just was out of reach, so it was kind of like whatever, you know. I just think it's interesting that the dynamic, the range of how just, you know, how you can get so much for nothing. Well, it's not nothing, time, right? And then how ridiculous it is in terms of if you're going to spend money and you want whatever it is that you want. It's really crazy how out of whack those two extremes are with this game.
I mean, on
I feel
console,
like free to play games have kind of just they've taken their model for granted and they've pushed it too far. Like they're figuring out where the boundaries are. Like I remember when, you know, my son is going to be 10 soon, but I remember when he was little and he was sick. So I had to take him downstairs at my parents' house, and I could just let him fall asleep on my chest so he could rest. And I had my phone on me, and that was about it. And I was sitting there for like 6 hours because he's sleeping. And I went on the Google Play Store, and I found one of the Angry Bird games, and I downloaded it. And it was free to play. It was kind of more of a new concept back then. And I played it for hours. And it got me through. I mean, I would have been bored out of my mind if I hadn't had anything to do. And so it popped up at one point, and it was like, hey, you want to buy this thing for a couple bucks? And I didn't really feel like I needed or wanted it, but I was so grateful that they had like given me this entertainment at a time when I needed it, that I gave them the money. I bought this $3 thing. And it's just such a world of difference between that and what games are like now. Instead of being like, hey, because to your point, I mean, I would even still encourage a Star Trek fan to say, yeah, go ahead and download the game, play it, play the Iconian arc, play the Victory's Life arc, play all this stuff. There's good story content here. Have fun in your ship, and maybe even throw them some money. Buy a couple C-store ships, right? That sort of place of gratitude, like, you gave me this really great free experience, so I'm going to repay the favor and buy a couple of C-store ships. I think that's fine. If that was their model, I think it would be fine. It's when they're like, limited time sales and gamble and maybe don't win anything, and the gotchas and just like they've gone. It's too much, and now I sound like a boomer.
No.
My day when Angry Bird first came out.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, boomer.
I was actually laughing at that because I played hours on for Angry Birds, but I feel that with how things are now, I hate to say it, it's gonna get really bad. Because how many ships we got last year? And before I go off on that point, like McStud, by the time 1 year of my PS4 account, I'll have 15 free ships. So you get a lot of free stuff, in Stowe, but the whole, if last year was an indication of how good they did, right? They said that on stream that last year was like one of their best years. This year wasn't going to be a surprise of how much ships they're pumping out, and they're pumping it out almost at the same, I think at the same sort of interval. I don't think any more so. But having said that, anything that we see on screen is probably going to be Lockbox and promo, which I hate. And that's why I say, give me that sort of option to get just the skin. I don't care necessarily about the next hottest thing, and don't sell it right away. You know what I mean? Don't give that option after 2 months or something. I don't know, just so that you can still get your money's worth. Again, I don't know how that looks like. I just feel that would be some sort of compromise. And then again, I said before, they're just leaving money on the table. I think it's either, I would, for me, okay, like me and Mixed as salesmen in the garage art industry, I would rather have the sale than not be, even if it's not an upgraded door, I'd rather just sell you a basic door. If that makes any sense, or coming back to, and this is why we call it the shuttle bay. But anyways,
well, and if you're a salesman, a lot of the releases recently have just been boring. Like, when's the last time they released a really iconic ship? Think about how iconic the Juggernaut is, right? And there's more than one Juggernaut, but you knew which one I was thinking of, right? It just feels like it's been a while since we've had like any kind of buzz around a ship. They've just been kind of, they're releasing them, but it just doesn't feel like they're events like they used to be.
I think the biggest buzz lately for me was, Spence, the 12th anniversary.
Yeah, the 12th anniversary had a ton of buzz, and I think we all know that from our analytics at the time, for any videos talking about it. But
that's true. 12th anniversary was good, yeah.
I'd like this bundle, like that's coming out this week. It is extremely underwhelming, and one of the things I was going to mention before when you talked about just upgrading a ship from tier 5 is these new ships, they've got fleet versions. Like, you gotta grind out the trade on it, and then you have to grind out the mastery again on the fleet version that you have to pay extra for. I really do not like that mechanic anymore, and especially, like, I went over the value of the first responder bundle versus the 12th anniversary. The 12th anniversary is a significantly better value. For $20 more, you get a lot more for your money.
Yeah.
And you don't have to grind out the fleet ship modules if you want to get the ships on multiple characters.
Well, and they're not new stuff either. I look at that and I'm like, whatever. Like, so, I mean, I'm happy that I looked at it and I didn't see anything that came on the ship that I felt like I was going to need, because it would feel bad to buy that stuff if I just wanted, a console or a trait, which I rarely do that anymore. But, I mean, it's just not exciting. I mean, we already have multiple versions of all of those ships. The golf ball one, I don't know if there's a tier 6 version of it, but whatever. I mean, it's not a hero ship. It's not even, I mean, what the Crusher flew it, in like the last episode of TNG. I mean,
Yeah, the past tour.
I don't
Yeah,
mind the
that
way it
was
looks and stuff, but it doesn't. The whole thing, it's just not exciting,
no.
at all.
I
When I
was
saw that new Shran, I was like, it looked, maybe I'm wrong, but it just looks so much like the regular Shran. I was like,
Yeah. There's a different pot on the top.
well, it was funny. I had fun with that because I literally took a golf ball and put it right on the. I thought it was the
you had
funniest
a
thing.
you had a more family friendly interpretation than I did.
That's Triz.
Well, I mean, we all know that that's how I am. But should we get more low-buy ships? The only
No.
thing that they've been putting more low-buy in the ships in the low-buy store has just been actual. Like I can only think of quickly the what do you call it? The Inquiry. Stuff like that for like 900.
If they want to put more things in the Lobby store ship-wise, I mean, new Lobby ships would be cool, but there's a lot of selections in there, and I don't really want there to be more things to buy with Lobby if they're now on a path where they're going to put all these new traits and consoles in the Lobby store. Like, it gets very expensive very fast now with this new approach that they're doing.
Are you telling me you're not rushing out to buy underwhelming ground traits for 200 Lobby?
I'm buying them, dude. Because I do
Well,
so much
pretty
now.
good for ground support, actually. But if you got 5 friends that are into that, if not, most people don't like ground at all. Let alone got 5 friends that want to do an in-game run with it.
Well, it's also the cost of 200 Lobby. That's
right.
Like
That's
$38. $38.
It's excessive. Like 200 Lobby is a lot.
Yeah, and then you talk about a ship.
Yeah.
It's rough.
A gun that heals. Yeah, I was going over that because when they released that blog, like I said earlier, with the Lockbox stuff with the Cerritos stuff, that gun, I was like, I'm not gonna buy that. But why not for in the dilithium store, maybe throwing this in there, traits, consoles. I think that would be a good idea. I don't know.
I forgot to mention this before, but there were a few questions about this earlier. Also, that elite bridge officer token, that could easily be something that they toss in the Dill store, but instead they're going to toss it into the C store, as we have seen them unintentionally leak several times by putting it into the C store. But that could easily have been pay 100,000 dilithium to upgrade your bridge officer to elite quality.
Heck, make it 500.
Accidentally leaked or 4D chess marketing.
I mean,
you never know with
their
them.
advertising strategy.
Yeah.
The extent of it.
There's a lot of things that I would use dilithium for. Tommy, look at Tommy gun account unlocking some sort of thing. Again, like what McStud said, if it's not broken, if there's no problem for them, why sort of do that? Because it's not going to really benefit
that's really
them.
The thing, especially us as end game players. We live in a different universe in terms of our viewpoint of the game than the devs do. So it's just, I mean, there's not a problem unless they're losing money, really.
Yeah.
And that's a shame because there's a lot of other games. I mean, you look at like Warships, they had some community problems a year or two back, and they went out of their way to fix that stuff. And it wasn't even that they were losing money from it. I mean, the game was doing just fine, but there was some uproar. They were in the wrong, to a certain degree. There was some misunderstanding, but I mean, there was a huge effort that wasn't just to the people that were affected, but everybody in general. I mean, they put out long statements from the CEO. They gave us stuff, and they actually made changes, to the way that their lockboxes worked, and they weren't even bad in my opinion before. I mean, comparatively speaking, but the transparency level went up even more. And again, it was already good, but I mean, there was tangible things that they went and did, and they didn't have to do any of that. The game would have been fine either way. They would have lost a few players, but they're still picking up players. Long term, it wouldn't hurt them at all. But that's we just don't see that, and then part of it's probably the size. I mean, Wargaming's a massive company. They're got studios all over the world, and they're huge. But again, if they don't see a problem, then there's not going to be a solution for it.
So what got them to that point? I want to stay on that because was it just a toxicity level? Was it just what were their devs doing to keep their pulse on angry, not happy players?
Well, what it is they have a CC program that is impressive, and it has been for a long time. So you can apply to be a CC, content creator, for the game, and there's different tiers of them. You can apply to be like, testers, and they'll give you, ships to take out. You sign NDAs, but you actually play it in the game, real environment. The CCs, you have to meet certain requirements, and they, you can go on board with them, and there's different tiers at that. Like I can advertise and make money from, if people sign up, using my code and stuff. I don't do that, but if you're someone like Wookiee Legend, for instance, right?
Yeah.
He they have monthly meetings, and there's people assigned to a group of them, and they get feedback from them. The support that they give them codes that they give out weekly, on their streams. They're restocked up weekly. Wookiee Legend is a good example because I've been watching him for the last 2 years. So he hit 10K subs. They gave him like $1,000 worth of ships that he could then give away, and that happens at certain
interval.
Different points, of success in your follower counts on Twitch and all these different kinds of things. So the CC program is really what sets that apart there. I know it's similar on Elder Scrolls to a certain degree, but I mean, I've been just impressed by what they do. And so you get all of this feedback, and the program's massive. There's tons of them, not just here, but all over the world. And there's different divisions, for the Asia servers and the EU servers, and on and on and on. And I think that's probably the biggest difference, on top of, there's an actual Discord server that's ran by Wargaming for NA and for all the other ones. And you can sign up. It's heavily controlled and moderated and stuff, but you can put, feedback on there. There's a lot of ways to, that feedback gets put, sent back into the company, that they can get that either through the CCs or through just players that are engaged in general. We don't have any of that at all.
That's not entirely true. I didn't get this, I don't think, in the take that I did release, because I had some very ranty takes that people wouldn't have been too happy with that video the other day. The German community manager for Star Trek Online actually runs an official German Discord and engages with the player base there and relays feedback and all that type of stuff. Like,
right,
actively engages. And
but what my point was that Wargaming has a program policy implemented, top down, laid out, not a guy going above and beyond. It's process. And that's really what's missing from Stowe's community management. There's no process, there's no procedure, there's no program. At all.
There's,
and that's, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just happy they're not giving me takedown notices.
Yeah.
Then look at the trying to get codes, or things like that. It's like I said, for the builds Discord, I tried. We just pushed out, a very significant piece of software, and I'm not saying that immediately means we deserve a code, but I'm not even getting a response. And it wasn't just a code that I was asking for. I was also inquiring about the process of starting up. In the past, they've done like community news post, in which they've let people from the community share something to the wider community right on the ARC website, and just nothing on that.
Well, let's get real here. When it comes to the community for Stowe, it's all on the players. Kale is a community manager, but really that doesn't go beyond official communications, one-way communications. Sure, they have the 10 forward live stream and stuff where they engage with people, but okay, well, they'll look at your fan art, but in terms of communities on Discord, a lot of that, Spencer, and other people, and community tools, any like contests, giveaways, like most of those come out of people's own pocket. It's just, we're all doing it ourselves. Like, we're not getting any help from them.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that I wish they would do, and I never really, I always looked up to all of you and of how each of you, all the content creators that came before, picked up a lot of tips, tricks over the years, and you guys are very important to the community, building it. And I wish Stowe would. I know there was incidents in the past. I get it. I just wish that Stowe would, throw those people who actually do this on their spare time for the most part, really, right? Making videos or thumbnails or whatever, scripting. That takes time, and it throws a bone. I'm not sure. I'm not asking for bloody bundles here and there, but then we've seen other newer streamers come in, and okay, I get it. There's and they get stuff to give away. Like that is just like what they got what, and then you see them play the game. It's like, oh my gosh, what? Like what is coming out of your ship? Like, oh my god.
I think this goes back to the point of who Cryptic is actually advertising to. It's not people that play games. It's people that want the Star Trek experience.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just it would be very rainbow belts. Yeah, it would be almost sort of a boost to the community, I think. Because we're already, and I say this all the time to you guys, we're already a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche, inside. And you would think any sort of support that they would give, even just a sort of, I don't know. I like that idea that they sit down. World of Warships. They sit down with their CCs. Yep. They actually have someone to sit down with their CCs, and that's how they keep a pulse on the community. I think that would be absolutely wonderful. Handpick whoever, if it depends on your sub level, your follow level, whatever. But it would, I mentioned to Kale that the only reason why I think I got some communication was I actually told him how much I streamed Stowe. Here's my records. I've actually streamed Stowe X amount of time, and this, I would like to see if there's anything that we can sort of do. And I've never gotten anything from Cryptic. Anything that I've gotten, I've given away, and there's things that I want to work on to do so as well, because to try to build up that morality in the community, I think is good, because it just feels like lately it's been sort of teeter-tottering on positive and negative, and if Stowe would keep their pulse on the community, I think they would do a lot of things to change up the mood, and they can do, and simple changes. I think personally, I don't know, that's just my sort of two easy.
Someone's asking in chat. So I mean, what can be done about it? And I don't know. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, if there's not, I mean, here's what it would take is that income starts dropping dramatically, and they say, oh my God, what do we got to do to fix this? Mm-hmm. Now, how would they handle that? Would they handle it in a way that's good or bad, or I don't know, but I think that's the only way that you could get their attention. I mean, everyone could start writing letters. I mean, maybe, I don't know, I mean, if it's enough people, maybe if people start writing Embracer, I don't know what the answer is to that, because at the end of the day, they're a for-profit company, which I totally get and understand. The question is that we have to look at them and figure out, okay, what is it that they value? Do they care about the sentiment? Do they care about those kinds of things? And, and I lean towards not really, I mean, as long as the status quo is still taking place, then I think they're fine with it, So I think the only thing that Gauss, I think you did a video of the guy that you're reading his Reddit post, and he was talking about how he's done spending money on the game. And I think that in mass is going to be the only thing that would get their attention. But then the next question is, are they going to do, make the right moves to fix it? And I don't know what the answer is to that.
Yeah, the cynic in me, and I realize I'm the most cynical one here probably, if their income started going into free fall, I'm not convinced they wouldn't just lay people off and put it in maintenance mode. I just, it's what I was saying earlier. I don't think they want to fight for the game. I think they're like, let's just draw out the attrition as much as possible and then let it go.
And I feel that same thing, but what else? But it makes me wonder, are they working on some other project in the background? I mean, Embracer just bought Cryptic Studios and all their games.
Oh,
they are. Goodbye, Stu.
I think we lost Stu.
Look at him, just like that look that he's got there. Did we lose Stud? Where's the mixed
mapping? He might come back.
Where's the
I think
Mixed
we've all
mapping?
dropped at some point. Well, maybe not you, Triz, but
Yeah, if I drop in, it goes. No, the whole thing with the Embracer thing again. I now am convinced we're not going to see anything for the next year, if anything. I'm not sure how that's going to look. I feel there was a game, Tiny Tina, something, whatever. Said this before, and oh geez, there he just dropped. That's good.
and then there were 3.
That did wonders on the screen there. Look at that. He just dropped. He'll probably come back, but we'll just here. We'll do this. We can take this. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. There you go.
McMuffin has joined the chat.
There you go. That pushed stats up there. That works good. You can tell. Welcome back, sir.
Discord just started like reloading and reloading and reloading. We're working it pretty hard tonight.
Yeah. No. I think. I guess for me, I'm gonna go off here on my final thing here. I know it's late for Mr. Gauss there, of course, like 2:30 in the morning. I know your nap, you took a nap, but still, my naps don't really do much for me these days. But overall, I would just love to see a little bit more effort from Star Trek Online. I don't know what that looks like. I'll steal that line from McStud. I don't know what it's going to take, but I think a little bit more effort would go a long way to help keep the already niche player base engaged and attract more new players and take advantage of this age of how much Star Trek stuff we have. So, but that's sort of my last point on that, because this is a game that I love, we all love. We've spent a lot of time, sometimes more time in game with our families, but you know, it's an escape for me. It's an escape for all of us, and it would be nice that they don't just kick it into sort of a maintenance mode, because there's so much potential here, and I think there's a lot of good points that all of you guys made. And I'm starting to think about that whole, just give us story. I don't care about the voiceovers. You know, just give us quality story, give us things that we can sort of just keep us engaged over a sustained period of time, as opposed to quarterly. So that's me. So I don't know. Final thoughts, anyone? We'll start with we'll go Gauss, McStud, and Spencer.
Okay, well, I feel like I've done a disproportionate amount of the talking, so I'll keep mine brief. I want to see them experiment. You know, try selling content. That's something they haven't done. You know, to Spencer's point about the third party, even if it is against terms of service, sell ships. Try selling ships, premium ships, for a flat cost. You know, try doing. Just try new things. You know, I can't sit and imagine the whole list, but I feel like they're playing things very conservatively, and they kind of have this playbook where there's a few things they're willing to do, and that's it. And I think that maybe is the wrong move. So I want to see them get creative, experiment with different things, experiment with different monetization, different content, different stuff. And if it doesn't work, I mean, what do they have to lose, right? Just maybe they'll be able to find something better that they can replicate in the future.
Bud?
Yeah, so I guess what I would say is that it doesn't hurt, you know, for the community to try, you know, send messages, post on social media, but you have to do it, you know, in a respectful way. Ask the questions, tell them what you want, what you'd like to see. I mean, who knows? I mean, it might be something just that seems so trivial to us, and they see it one day and are thinking, wow, we never even thought about that. You know, I mean, I know it's a long shot, but you know, if individuals try, I mean, it's better than not, right? I mean, we can all sit here and, you know, and complain and, you know, have, you know, constructive criticism and all of that, but if we're not being active in any way trying to, you know, make changes happen that we want to see, then we should all just shut up, right? I mean, so we should do these kinds of things that we're doing now, engaging in these conversations. But Kale and other developers are on social media and stuff. But again, I mean, I have to stress, anytime somebody goes and attacks them personally, is disrespectful, it just screws all of us and what we would like to see happen. So if you're going to do that, and I encourage you to reach out, just make sure that you're
doing it constructively is what he was going to say.
Oh, did we just lose him again?
We lost him.
We lost him.
Oh man.
I think that's that sucks. How about you, Spence?
Oh, he's back.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
He's like, so what you should do is you should send lots of messages to Cryptic, and someone at Cryptic is like, cut the cord, cut it.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill my camera just to be on the safe side there. Yeah, so I would reach out, post things, reach out to these guys, but do it in a respectful way. Don't be rude. Don't do any of those kinds of things. If you do that, then it just hurts all of us, and nothing positive is going to happen. But if we're not telling them what they want, what we want, then we're definitely not going to get it.
Yes, 100%.
For me, as a jaded long-term player, I would say I have very low expectations. I would like, people I've engaged with them or attempted to on multiple occasions to no success. I would love to know a way to be able to break through to them, to try and maybe do some things that would help the people that actually stick around and play the game long term. But like I said earlier, I really don't think we're their target audience. And they've said, that they're most of the players playing this game log in, do the new story missions, might buy a ship, do the events, and then they're done until the next mission, event, or ship comes out that they want. That's their target audience. It sucks. I would love for them to do something for us, but I just, after a decade, my expectations are very low, to put it lightly.
Right. I'm, it's obvious that we all have love and passion, so I love all the points there. Agree with everything. And Captains, this is going to be something we're going to do a lot of when we have 2 ECs to drop. So first and foremost, obviously, thank you, Gauss, McStud, Spencer, for the time. I know it's really hard for Gauss had to take a nap. Okay, had to take a nap for this, and I think this is something hopefully we can sort of collectively work on, trying to make the game better. But thank you for your guys' time. I appreciate it. What we're gonna do, so Captains on the YouTube, on the Twitch, thank you for joining us here. And I know that it was a long one, but I think we got some good points across, and maybe something that we can build off. And in our next one, where I think we try to do this once a month-ish at the very least, or at least when there's something to talk about and or drop our thoughts on. So I don't know when the next one is. What is it now? July 19th? So maybe the next one could be in August, or when something major happens. But
they come out with the Picard Lockbox, we should talk again. The second one that they're definitely not working on. That's my bet. That's no leaks. Just a guess. Educated guess.
Good one, sir.
Lockbox.
The Picard 2 Electric Boogaloo Lockbox.
Yeah.
Picard 2 Boogaloo Lockbox. I
Put
like
the CSS World Razor in a lockbox ship. Or lockbox.
Ooh, I love
Well, I
the
think we
World
all
Razor.
know the real heroes are in the audience and in the live chat. So
Yeah, no, and of course to those who will be seeing this afterwards, again, this is sort of this, unfortunately, the time frame that works for mostly me because of just in real life duties. But we'll see if we can probably move this on to a weekend, so that at least it's not too late, and I can try to work around that. But thank you, Captains. I appreciate it. We're gonna find someone here on the Twitch side of things to raid, but to my YouTube Caps, thank you for the recent subscriptions, follows, and no, we're not gonna raid Amaranth. No,
Okay.
we're not.
Raid Amaranth.
We're not
Go here,
raiding.
boys.
No, no, I can't believe you. You're so. We're not raiding Amaram. We'll be like
She's gonna be like, what the?
Star Trek Online. What, Nani? Anyways, so we'll start the raid here.
She'll be like, oh, Triz, he's one of my OnlyFans.
That would be
That'd be
hilarious.
That would be really funny.
What, Augie? What
There'd
did
be a
you
night where
just
she's,
do? Oh
Be a night where she's
my!
writing her name on herself, writing names on herself. Whoever raids, tries Xander all night.
Right
just
across-
07. Just 07.
Right across the forehead, just Triz07. Okay, we're raiding Archangel on Twitch. We're gonna go say hi and send there again, captains. Thank you so much. Look out for the content from us and all the other CCs. Again, we just do this because we love Star Trek, and we're not. Okay, we're not.
I don't have permission.
No, we're not. I can't see the new subscriptions on YouTube, but I will. I see here. Sai, Sun by. I don't know. Sorry, Sai. Thank you for the follow here, but let's go send the love over to Archangel, the Stoke community. Give a bunch of 07s, captains. Good night. Take care.
Good night. Thanks for joining us. I had a blast. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next one.
Definitely.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.